What is going on, everybody? Happy early Thanksgiving. It is episode 249 of Pop Culture Crisis. My name is Brett. I am here with my co-host. Would you introduce yourself, please?
Hello, Crisis Actors. It's Mary, and hello to anyone who may be new here from IRL last night. I showed up there in Ian's seat, and we're here to send you off to Thanksgiving weekend.
On a good vibe.
On a good vibe.
vibes.
A casual vibe. It's almost like it's a casual Friday, but it's not.
Casual Wednesday.
Yeah.
What would the term for that be? Unwound Wednesday. I have no idea.
Okay, we'll workshop that.
We'll workshop that one. We have a guest host today. Would you introduce yourself, sir?
I am a clump of cells. My name is Wesley. I am the director of Cast Castle, and I am happy to be here again.
You are a clump of cells who directs the vlog.
Yes, with questionable sentience.
But the writing's great, so, It is what it is. We got a bunch of stuff to talk about today, guys. We are going to talk about Glass Onion. We did go and see it today. It was the most jarring experience in my entire life. I haven't been to a matinee in 10 years, 15
I'm to blame
years.
for this. I bought the tickets.
Early bird
it's my
specials.
fault.
Well, yeah. So we went to coming out of a movie theater, you should never see daylight. I don't think that should be allowed. That's my personal opinion on things. We're going to talk about Glass Onion. It will be a spoiler review, so I will give another spoiler alert right before we start, but we are going to get into the nitty-gritty of the movie. I don't know how to review movies without doing spoilers, so be warned. We are also going to talk about Quentin Tarantino putting Marvel actors in their place, telling them that they don't matter, that the characters matter. I'm being a little bit hyperbolic. And then Simu Liu, thank you. Simu Liu responded like the petulant child that he usually is. We are also going to talk about the controversy surrounding Disney's new animated film Strange New Worlds and the fact that it's not
Strange World.
Did I say Strange New Worlds? Yes, Strange Worlds. The Strange World?
Just singular world.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the fact that it's banned in like 20 markets. Now, this is a kid's movie. It wasn't for me. Like, I wasn't going to go see this anyways. But there's some discussion to be had about the kind of the proliferation of certain messages in these things, whether they belong in kids' movies at all. Certain countries have certain views on that clash with America. We will get into it. We are also going to talk about an actress from what's her name? From Skins?
Yeah, it's from Skins UK. Yep. Her name is April Pearson.
And she has some thoughts about what happened at the time the show was on the air quite a while ago. And I have my own thoughts about what I consider to be the protracted adolescence that we're creating for ourselves in our culture, a culture without responsibility until you're the age of 45. We are also going to talk about Balenciaga has responded to the claims, not even claims, to the backlash that has come forth after their disgusting ad campaign, and Bella Hadid has responded in kind. And then I've got some great stuff at the end, so a very fun one from John Leguizamo. It's going to be great. We're going to be a little bit distracted here, guys. When we're normally prepping the show, we were watching a movie today, so
but it's also prepping the show.
Yes, if it feels haphazard and all over the place, that's because it is. But it's going to be a lot of fun.
It's going to be fine.
So if you guys are ready, we can just get right into it. Mary, are we ready?
Absolutely.
Wesley.
Ready.
All right. So what it is, this is, again, a spoiler review, a spoiler-filled review, so be warned. We have given you the heads up in advance. We did go and see Glass Onion. This is a movie written and directed by Rian Johnson. It is a sequel. It's a connected but not super connected sequel to Knives Out from 2019. Wesley is our resident Rian Johnson stan here. Mm-hmm. And he is here to tell us why this movie was fantastic. And by the way, I will say off the bat, I liked it. So before we get into it, the movie is about, basically a billionaire played by Edward Norton brings a bunch of his friends to an island so that they can solve a fake murder mystery where a real murder mystery actually comes to be known. And then you get to see Benoit Blanc solve the crime with the help of Andy, or we think Andy at that time, played by Janelle Monáe, and a lot of kind of really tight storytelling and pacing ensues, and there's some really good stuff in here. So off the bat, I'm going to ask you guys first, what did you think was the strongest aspect of this film?
The strongest aspect of it? Ooh, I'm not in the intellectual headspace to even analyze it like that.
What part did you like the most?
Wesley, you go first.
So I would say the conception of the story and the way that it was told, the storytelling was masterfully done. The look of the movie, the craft of it more so, like, typically you would want to hear somebody say the cast was amazing, but for me, the filmmaking, like
the
trumped all that.
cinematography, like it actually shocks me that She Said got like a wide release for theaters, which nobody's going to go and see. And this movie, which is absolutely beautifully shot, the cinematography on this movie is stunning.
Yeah.
In this, I mean, it lends itself to the scenery. They're in what is it, Greece?
Yep.
So the cinematography, and it is filmed pretty much entirely on this island. Once you get about 10 minutes into it, you're on this location house, which is just massive. It's a compound, right? And the cinematography is top notch. So you think that those were the strongest aspects to it?
Like from every part of the craft of the making, outside of whether like the screenplay, obviously, in my opinion, wonderful. The cast wonderful, but just the look of it and just how it sucked me in 100%. Like
look of the movie does a lot to help the pace, like help you stay connected to it. If it loses you with the pace, which luckily this movie did not do. This movie was masterfully paced, in my opinion. It did not have any downtime. You're on the hunt for one aspect of the story or another at all times. And to me, the strongest characters are Benoit LeBlanc, played by Daniel Craig, and Janelle Monáe's Andy, and she plays Andy and her sister, twins, with a really, really good performance. I would actually like to say that I consider this movie to be separate the art from the artist, the movie, because almost all of these actors are insufferable on Twitter. Yeah, they are like.
Why would you expect any different from actors on Twitter? I don't really have an issue doing that in the first place because I have to do it so often.
It's almost like that's how you cast them.
Well, yeah, no,
because of like the insights that both of you have on cinematography, I've been trying to notice the good parts, not just notice when things fall short of that standard recently. And I did notice that it was very nice to look at. And I didn't just rely on noticing flaws in it. But the cast definitely wasn't the strong suit, actually.
They weren't weak, but they weren't shining like they were in the last one.
And actually, the thing I liked most about the film, now that I think about it, is the time jump in the middle.
Well, that was jarring to me at first. There was no other
because
way to do that.
you walked out in the middle of that getting fleshed out, so that's probably why it was jarring to you. But I thought it was really well done, and I related to Brandy in the film because like I am just that illogical and like
Birdie.
Wait, what?
Birdie J.
Birdie J.
Oh, sorry, Birdie. Because like I had a difficult time following it along with her, and then found her relatable for that reason.
So the idea behind this movie is that Miles Braun brings all of his old friends to this island to solve a murder mystery. But basically, you find out that he has done something, and then he's bringing them there, and they're reaffirming their kind of relationship because he's funded or somehow benefited the career of all of these people that he calls his friends. It speaks a lot to kind of the fakeness of that world, and I think there's some commentary there that's fairly veiled. So we have obviously Daniel Craig is back as Detective Benoit LeBlanc, Blanc, not LeBlanc. But I think that this is going to be a character that they're going to not franchise, but that's going to get. He's going to be the new Sherlock Holmes in America. In
really?
a way that I think they see him as a character that they can put into multiple situations and get a great performance out of him in a bunch of different ways, the same way that they do with Perot.
The only issue I had with this character is his accent, because I find that like French, Louisiana, Cajun accent really off-putting.
Well, it felt
but
very
other
Kevin
than that,
Spacey
he
in House
was
of
kind of
Cards.
charming.
Yeah. Miles Braun, Edward Norton's great. He's not the person I would have suspected for this role, oddly enough, being that it's less. He does it more subdued at the beginning, and it gets more ridiculous as it goes on. But the role of the kind of eccentric, selfish billionaire could have been done much more outlandish and comical, and I think that he showed some restraint there that I appreciated. That because there's a reveal later where Blanc basically says like he's an idiot, like and that only works if he's not being completely over the top in the beginning. Because if he's doing that, if he's acting that way in the beginning, you're wondering why everyone else isn't more aware of how much of a moron this dude is.
I kind of like that this ends with him facing rebuke for being a bit of a climate utopian ideologue. Like he has this chemical compound from the ocean water
called clear.
That he calls clear with a K, and he learns along with the rest of them that it would like barbecue the earth if it were actually implemented, but he holds something over all of their heads, so they would have to comply with his plan.
We've got Dave Bautista as Duke Cody with his
an MRA YouTuber / Twitch streamer.
In knowing how much of he's a TDS dude too, so he's like leaning into this role, and it fits with his body image. He's a former pro wrestler, and his impossibly hot girlfriend Whiskey, who looks like in my opinion, they said, Florence Pugh, what are you doing?
Yeah.
She said, I'm busy. They said, Natalie Dormer, what are you doing? I'm busy. Yeah. Let's just find they use like a Morph Pro program to mix the two, and they found this young actress, Madeline Klein. We have Jessica Henwick as Peg, who is the assistant to... she is the assistant to Kate Hudson's Birdie J character. And then we have Claire DeBella, played by Katherine Hahn. Remember, if you've never seen the show Crossing Jordan, go watch the show Crossing Jordan. She was great in that. Who is she in a relationship with Leslie Odom's character? Are they together?
No, I don't think like that was implied at all.
Who's Lionel? Also, if you want to see Leslie Odom in a great role, he plays a constitutionalist who fights, who hates government censorship and the anti-freedom movement in the show Person of Interest.
But in this movie, he's an extremely forgettable scientist that I didn't even remember what his name was.
I felt, now this could just be me, I felt like they were scared to make him more flawed. I feel that way about it. Now, they leaned into the identity politics of it all. They talked about politics in this movie more than a few times, and I think that the casting was done to reflect that. And then we have Janelle Monáe as Andy, and what was the sister's name? Because that came in later. Helen and Andy Brand, and I believe that she is a standout performer in this. There are two very distinct personalities at work when you see her as Andy and then when you see her as Helen. The main difference you'll be able to tell is the accent, which changes. Helen grew up and stayed in Louisiana? Alabama. And then, of course, when Andy came of age, they're twin sisters, she moved to New York and worked to become a big,
tech billionaire.
A tech billionaire.
And then Helen stayed in Alabama to be a school teacher.
Yeah.
So I thought that they were actually portraying Andy or Cassandra to be the flawed sort of evil twin in a way who held on to a thread of integrity throughout.
I didn't get it. I got that as somebody who was wronged completely.
Because she said they used to make fun of these out-of-touch rich people, and then she felt like her sister ran off and just began embracing that persona that was fake in order to get ahead in life.
I think that's more nuanced than they gave it, because she loses out in the end anyways to the billionaire. So there's some social commentary here that's thinly veiled in places. There is definitely, like, if you don't like the kind of the identity politics, there is a little bit of there, but I feel like the pacing, the mystery, and you have to go into it knowing that what you're watching is a murder mystery. If you engage your mind that that's the type of movie you're watching and you don't look for the other stuff, it won't bother you as much. But I do believe that handicaps them in a way. When I hear them talk about wokeness and what did she say in the beginning of the movie?
Everything's so woke.
Yeah.
Now,
When they say that
was Birdie's character in reference to her tweeting an ethnic slur and then getting reviewed for that and saying wokeness has just gone too far these days.
And here's the
which
problem.
is a bit of a caricature, obviously.
Yeah. Here's what Ryan Johnson is like that. He's annoying on Twitter. You see, if you know who he is, his personality comes out in the writing of this movie. You have to hope that the pacing, the strong mystery elements, and the storytelling are enough to make you forgive that. If that bothers you, that will bother you in this movie. It didn't.
Yeah, there were little lines that like sanctimonious kind of.
Yes.
Don't confuse saying your first thought with saying truth or whatever.
That was probably the most heavy-handed out of all of it because it felt out of place from the actor. He was still in character as he hadn't revealed himself yet, so I felt like he did a disservice to his character by saying something so brazen like that when it doesn't feel like something that he would have said to somebody there at that juncture. What would be the weakest element to you if there was a weak element to you?
I would say that's it. I would
Okay.
say it's not being able to you said that Edward Norton showed great restraint. I would
Yes.
say that Ryan Johnson did not show great
Yeah.
restraint in trying to make commentary.
Yeah.
But that's him. That's like,
I also
yeah.
think they should not have included the context of the pandemic
Yes.
and
Yeah.
masking.
I like it. I like it.
You do?
Yep.
Because
I
I
like
think
it.
this won't age well going forward where we have these movies referencing the pandemic, and it's like social mores. Like we have Birdie's character wearing basically a fishnet mask.
Right.
And she's like
I like that. It's making fun of Alyssa Milano, who did that.
well, she had the crocheted. Yeah, she had the
and,
crocheted.
and
mask.
Lana Del Rey. It's
Yeah.
not exactly though.
But
It's
also- no,
just,
but also
it's just
the,
making fun of
It's making fun of.
her for being an anti-masker.
I don't think it is.
supposedly.
I think it's making fun of like they made fun of like Newsom and Whitmer and all these people who are like, we have to lock down, but I'm going to go to this party and I'm
Well,
going to do this
then
thing. And they
they-
made fun
they
of the,
had
the
these-
vaccine with what is this? Don't worry about it.
But that wasn't. Was that a vaccine or what was that they
It was
shot
a nondescript
into
health.
all of their throats?
It was
Yeah.
a nondescript health
At the
solution.
beginning.
But I said, like, all they had to do is eliminate that storyline from it, and then they don't have to do that at all, and it doesn't
Right.
matter.
But they shot it during all this stuff.
Yeah.
So like that was probably like why it's on an island and why you're able to do it.
Then I guess you could say that the best thing is that they didn't do more of it. That they
No,
limited it
I
to
thought
the
it was
beginning.
there was like commentary from the other direction where he's like this is all kind of dumb, isn't
Yeah.
it? And he was making fun of them, and maybe it felt like they're making fun of us, but they're not.
Yeah.
And he did it in a way to where it goes either way. You know what I mean? Like, but the whole like I'm going to shoot this into your body. You have no idea what it is. You have no idea if it's tested. But you're good. You're good now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
I
You don't
thought
need a
that was
mask
going to
anymore.
crop up in the story later on, that it was related to Clear or something, and it wasn't.
I thought so too, but it's kind of funnier that it didn't.
Yeah. So
Also, a very strong part of this movie is Daryl.
the guy. From,
Yeah.
I mean,
Noah Sagan.
Yeah.
I didn't pick up on that. And
So
Yeah,
you
I just
can
thought he was charming.
yeah,
you can watch this movie if you've never seen the original Knives Out, because I only saw the original Knives Out once, and I remember like nothing about it except for Blanc's accent. Literally, that's all I remember from it.
A donut.
do you remember liking it or disliking it?
I remember it being also well paced.
Yeah.
That was my
Very well
number
done.
one takeaway, and it was at a time where I was like, why wasn't Ryan Johnson doing this rather than making Star Wars and talking about Star Wars on Twitter all the time? So you're not going to have to go see this in theaters. You will be able to see this on streaming at Christmas, I believe.
I thought it was 1 week.
Is it a
I
week?
thought it was. I know it's
Yeah,
1 week
I
in
was under the
theaters.
impression it was only a week.
I thought it was in theaters for a week, but then
okay.
it comes out on streaming
Oh,
Yes,
you might be
that's
right.
what I
by
Yeah,
Christmas.
Yeah.
So
That's what I meant.
it's I think Daniel Craig is great in his role, and he's kind of what's interesting is like I talk about Janelle Monáe's character being what I consider to be the stand-up performance here, but what you do with what you'd consider Blanc's character to be the backbone of it, if he doesn't work, none of it works. She could have given the greatest performance in history, but if she doesn't have the eccentricity of his character and the build of his character to work off of, it all falls apart. Even with strong storytelling, if you don't have that anchor back to who's supposed to solve everything and how it's supposed to work out, and he shepherds her along, but then she of course figures she's magically good at mystery solving, and that part was a little bit annoying. But I will say that she at least showed a little bit of like, I can't do this, and she starts drinking. Like, she wasn't just perfect and great in every situation. She at least showed a little bit of
It was
vulnerability there.
more like he just understood what she was strong at and put her in that position to
Yeah.
do it. Like
Yep.
she's a teacher of children, so she's observant,
Yeah.
and these people are basically just children, so she's like reporting on their behavior, and he's like, "You did great," and she's like, "Did I? I didn't know any of this was relevant." Like,
Yeah.
I thought that was very funny.
The strength of Daniel Craig's performance confirmed for me all the more that they really didn't need to push his queer baiting
Oh yeah,
yeah.
in the marketing for this movie.
That was actual queer
completely
baiting.
irrelevant.
it didn't matter at all.
That
Like,
he's-
so he wears an ascot.
Well, and he's
And
got
the
he's got a
color
partner
salmon.
he's got a partner
who calls him by his last name.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, exactly. Calls him by his last name.
Should have called him Benny.
So that doesn't really make sense.
So
you're trying to queer bait with this character.
I do think that there's a strong enough character there that they could make more of these if this does well enough. Maybe you stick to streaming for it. Maybe, assuming he can't get the same cinematographer back. I know they work together a lot, you said, right?
Yeah.
So
exclusively.
I don't feel like it needs the greatest cinematography with strong pacing, strong camera work, even if it's not the greatest landscape or the greatest, most
I think
interesting.
that makes it a cut above.
Yeah.
Like that's what sets it apart is that there's so much attention to that detail and that shows in his writing. Like everything that is in the movie, like storytelling wise, is telegraphed from the beginning. Like, you could figure it out, but you just don't know what you're looking at.
They should have gotten
like a real mystery.
Kenneth Branagh should have hired Rian Johnson to write the Perot movies that he's been doing
and direct them.
And I mean, I don't know. I feel like Branagh's a strong enough director.
He's a very strong director, but those movies lack something.
They feel very studio, like somebody at the studio just loves that character and is like just has the power to make it a thing, even though nobody cares. Yeah. Like I saw Death on the Nile, and all I remember was Gal Gadot being very charming, and the crime at the end being basically exactly what I thought it would be. Given the
they
fact
spend money on the wrong things. I don't know what it is how Rian Johnson can make a movie like Knives Out that's, in my opinion, a borderline masterpiece for like what $40 million, but they make like what's the second Murder on the Nile?
Death on the Nile.
Death on the Nile.
Yeah.
Murder on the Orient Express. Death on the Nile for like $120 million, but they can't do what he does.
I think they spent more money on cast too. There's
good cast in both of these.
On Death on the Nile?
Yeah, there was a lot of
That's the same thing for Amsterdam. It was just a dumpster fire of budgeting.
And that one, I don't know how long ago that one was made, and how much of that was on location, how much of that was CGI.
For Death on the Nile?
Death on the Nile.
A lot of CGI.
Yeah. So there were some good establishing shots there, and then cut to like really poorly done monotone green screen.
There's some bad green screen in this movie too, though.
What parts?
Edward Norton in The Glass Onion, I could see the green outline around him.
Okay.
Also, and then when they were when he was having coffee with Helen, they were green outline.
Coffee with Helen.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I didn't notice that at all.
Also, the big mountain behind them was very much looked like it was laid in there when they were coming.
That.
Yeah, when they were. It looks like every mountain that's ever been laid behind like a TV show that's supposed to take place in Colorado but isn't filmed in Colorado. But in general, you don't spend enough time there. You spend most of it inside anyways. And it's just very, very good. So if you can forgive Rian Johnson for his destruction of Star Wars and his inability to keep his mouth shut in the lead up to, hey, I'm just saying actions have consequences. And if you can't keep your mouth shut in the lead up to your release, you get what's coming to you. If strong cinematography, strong pacing, tight storytelling are things that you enjoy, and you can forgive a bunch of actors that are annoying on Twitter and some.
I personally like bad storytelling.
And you can also put up with some kind of annoying social messaging. I think that you will enjoy this movie. Would you give it a recommend?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Mm-hmm. All right. Well, that's maybe that might be the most unanimous one we've ever had.
It's equal with Bullet Train in my mind.
Okay.
Equally good.
Bullet Train is so good.
Don't you think they're on par with each other?
I think Bullet Train's better.
Bullet Train is better. Yes.
Bullet Train's better.
All right.
Marcos said, "Happy Thanksgiving." Thank you. Happy Thanksgiving. Waffle Sensei said, "Happy Thanksgiving, dudes and dudettes. Chillzaddy Wednesday, it shall be called."
Yes.
I don't know if I like that or approve of that.
Chillzaddy.
Yeah, not into that.
Are you excited? Are either of you excited for the holiday? Excited? Yes, no?
I mean, yeah.
Yeah?
I like food.
Waffle Sensei, I do not like the sequels.
I like America.
The sequels to what?
Star Wars. I do not like the sequels.
Potatoes for Seamus.
Force Awakens is terrible, and so is...
Potatoes for Seamus said, "Wesley, what is a woman? Love you, dude. LOL."
What is a woman?
What is a woman?
Why are they asking you?
I don't know.
Do they think you know?
I don't know. I'm a
Do
clump
they
of
think
cells.
that you're Matt Walsh?
I'm a clump of cells. I don't even know what a person is.
Mary sent us $4.99 without a message.
Thank you, Mary.
Thank you. That was not me. Caper2X said, "Happy Turkey Day, PCC peeps. Mary, Wesley, and Brett."
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And happy Thanksgiving to everyone.
1,000 Foot Deep End said, "Leslie Odom Jr., also Aaron Burr,
Yeah.
Sir in Hamilton."
Yeah, he's one of those people that's really annoying on Twitter too. They're all sanctimonious, but it's just really funny because I think back to that character he plays on Person of Interest, where he literally talks about how it was right around the time of Snowden, so it was a lot about digital invasion of your privacy, and that the government is basically a cartel that has a monopoly over the ability to.
So is he a good guy
in the show? No, he's played as basically kind of like a foil that ends up being used by the bigger bad guy as like a weapon, like that he doesn't even realize. The alternate intelligence uses his group to make to accomplish things without them realizing it. That's what it's using them for.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Johnny Beck sent us a thumbs up.
Thank you, John.
High Voltage 75 said, happy pre-Thanksgiving, everybody. What are you all thankful for?
Mary?
I'm thankful for you, Brett.
Oh, and
I saw that coming a mile away.
I am thankful for you as well, and I'm thankful
from the depths of my cold, shriveled up heart.
She may have a cold storage locker where her heart might be, but she has a little bit of love down there.
It feels warm because of the alcohol, right?
Is that
and
what
I'm
it
thankful
is?
for all of you guys, obviously, who are watching today.
I always have trouble with those too because I worry about it sounding cheesy. You know, like I don't want to sound cheesy, but you also
to the audience.
Well, to anyone, like like you want it to sound authentic, right? So, like when somebody puts you in that position, like what are you thankful for, and then you answer, like it feels like you're put on the spot. So
thankful for my mom.
There you go.
Yeah.
Sweet.
And one more. It does not come
I
through.
didn't see that. Yesh said cranberry sauce in a can. Yace or nace?
I saw people arguing about that. I saw a literal thread that said, like, we need to talk about cranberry sauce in a can. And whenever I see stuff like that, all I think of is, like, and you complain about living in the West and how bad your life is, but you have time to debate online whether cranberry sauce is okay in a
If you
can.
have the time to debate online whether or not it's okay to serve cranberry sauce from a can, you should have enough time to make cranberry sauce from scratch.
Ooh.
There you go.
Owned.
With
Pwned,
facts and logic.
Destroyed with facts and logic.
All right,
live on air.
All right, guys, we are moving on. So, Quentin Tarantino, not to be outdone by anyone, had some things to say about Marvel movies and Marvel actors and what they mean for Hollywood. So it says, Quentin Tarantino says Marvel actors aren't movie stars. Captain America is the star, not Chris Evans. He's actually the worst example you could give because he actually is a movie star, kind of.
Borderline.
Yeah.
What I appreciate about this statement, even if it's not totally factual, is that Tarantino only speaks when spoken to. Like when he is explicitly asked a question that is looking for an incendiary answer, he will just give it to the person instead of pussyfooting around about it.
And he doesn't tweet it. He just
he's not a Twitter fingers auteur.
He says part of the Marvelization of Hollywood is you have all of these actors who have become famous playing these characters, Tarantino said, but they're not movie stars, right? Captain America is the star or Thor is the star. I mean, I'm not the first person to say it. I think that it's been said a zillion times, but it's like, it's these franchise characters that become the star. I noticed he left Robert Downey Jr. out of that because Robert Downey Jr. was a star.
There are obvious exceptions, but also I think Marvel is making a project of siphoning off A-listers into their franchise who otherwise wouldn't have been interested in earlier on.
It becomes forgettable now. Like everyone can talk how great Bale was as Gore the God Butcher, but let's face it, no one's going to care in 5 years.
Like I saw
won't matter.
I saw this tweet that said Marvel just pulls A-listers to play their villains and ruins them.
Yeah.
Like that character, or the screen time at least that Christian Bale got, did not do him justice at all. No. And he was the only strong point of that movie of Thor Love and Thunder.
I also like because like a lot of times the actors feel like they have to justify it.
But Korg is gay.
Yes.
That makes up for it for sure.
But he's gay. It's interesting.
He holds hands with another male Korg over a puddle of lava, and that's how you make babies. Yeah. It's hilarious.
It's interesting. Okay.
It's no one knows what it means, but it's provocative.
For these actors, also like I remember Bale saying like he's like I don't think I've ever seen them. I saw the one with the purple guy. And that was it. And then he said, I only played the character because my kids asked me. That's been a long-standing thing.
I don't like Marvel, I swear.
Long before superheroes, before they were in vogue, actors that was their out. They would say like, oh, my kid said I have to play this character. I was going to pass on the role. But then my 10-year-old, who probably doesn't give a crap about it. But
it's the Richard Harris.
Yeah.
Like, I'm only Dumbledore because my granddaughter said she wouldn't speak to me if I didn't do it.
Like, I'm sure it'd be funny.
Or Jeff Bezos talking about his now, also
$1
adult child talking about Lord of the Rings. So he just had to take the series.
I laundered $1 billion so that my son would come to Thanksgiving dinner tonight.
Hope you're happy, America.
He literally ruined it for zillions of Tolkien fans.
It's going to be a tense dinner conversation tomorrow night at the Bezos household.
I'm picturing like there's like you hear the clank of all the spoons and the forks, and then all of a sudden he's like
so Galadriel, huh?
Morphin Clark, Dad? Really? Really?
Then the cranberry sauce just goes flying in the air.
I don't know how you do that when you know what? I'm going to leave it alone.
He says, look, I used to collect Marvel comics like crazy as a kid, Tarantino said. There was an aspect that if these movies were coming out when I was in my 20s, I would totally be effing happy and would totally love them. I mean, they wouldn't be the only movies being made. They would be those movies amongst the other movies. But, I'm almost 60, so yeah, I'm not as excited about it. He's kind of he gets to scream to the wind, but he's the one he is like a Nolan. He'll get the funding for his movie whether he wants to or not. Like, he will get to make his movie, but there is a whole class of filmmakers who aren't going to get to make their movies because people won't go see anything but these Marvel or these superhero movies. And so then I ask you this. I would like to say that it's the comic book creators that are the reason why these things are so popular. And I do believe that that's what made the characters relevant for the 80 years long before these movies were a thing. But I don't think that accounts for all of the weird stans who love these movies but didn't seem interested in the comics when they were growing up. They were not the kids who were getting pushed into lockers because they read comics in the 80s.
Well, the hope is that the new audiences who are introduced to these characters through the movie adaptations retroactively become enthusiastic fans of the comics from which they came.
That does not happen.
But that doesn't happen in reality,
happen.
And then they just make fan fiction that is not part of the canon to fit their weird narrative goals and shipping.
Well, also they change they don't actually work to marry the stories together. I remember I don't remember if it was Venom, but there was a character they literally killed the character off right before a movie came out. And got rid of the original. It might have been they did like a Spider-Man story where it wasn't Peter Parker right before a new movie came out and Peter Parker was the current Spider-Man. They don't care because they realize that the mediums don't translate backwards because kids aren't reading comics. They're reading manga and they're reading...
You talking about they killed him off in the comics?
Yeah, they did not even follow in line with the character in the comics. And then when they do, it's for a couple of issues and then they get canceled and then they have to restart it anyways.
Let's talk Simu Liu's response to Tarantino. And of course, he uses a lack of diversity, equity, and inclusion as a vector of attack.
Yes.
He said on Twitter, if the only gatekeepers to movie stardom came from Tarantino and Scorsese, I would never have had the opportunity to lead a $400 million plus movie, Shang-Chi. I am in awe of their filmmaking genius. They are transcendent auteurs, but they don't get to point their nose at me or anyone. No movie studio is or ever will be perfect, but I'm proud to work with one that has made sustained efforts to improve diversity on screen by creating heroes that empower and inspire people of all communities everywhere. I loved the Golden Age too, but it was white as hell.
I love a casual racism in the morning.
It makes my skin crawl.
I love it.
Love that.
I also
and then people immediately were pointing out how hypocritical it is to call out Tarantino and Scorsese for lack of diversity, especially in regard to Asian characters, because of Kill Bill, Silence, Kundun. And that, by the way, was an all-Tibetan cast, which would never be approved by Marvel today because... Or any Tibetan character would not be approved by Marvel today because of the geopolitical implications
Actually, I
of marketing it to China.
I don't think that's true. I think China. I think they're willing to let China go now. I think that they've gone hard enough into LGBTQIA themes that they know China won't like.
Well, the obvious
they did the
example against what you're saying is that in 2016 they swapped out a Tibetan character
for Tilda Swinton as the ancient one. But
yeah,
we're past that now.
In Doctor Strange.
We are well past that now. We have the Epoch Times in Spider-Man.
They've drawn their line in the sand, do you think?
I think that level of I think
okay, even if that change has occurred, it doesn't mean that his point that Scorsese and Tarantino haven't or were upholding like a white superior cast in the Hollywood golden age is valid. Like, that's totally delusional.
I also saw something that Scary Spice talked about how racist Colorado was because it was so white in an area she was in. Like, somehow just happening to be in an area that is demographically homogenous in that one area is evidence of racism, because these people they're infected with a sickness, and that sickness is identity politics and the use of race as the cudgel as a weapon against everything. And also, I want to remind you that Simu Liu is a crybaby who is annoying and wouldn't sign old Shang-Chi comics because of racist undertones, even though he owes a lot of his success now to the success of that franchise. And that character does not get to be the version he plays without the original version done at a time that was less polished and less politically correct.
He's also full of it. I don't know if you've ever seen his old Reddit account.
No, what did he post?
No, you don't know
there?
about this?
Oh, I know that he was a shit poster on
Reddit.
Reddit.
Yeah.
What did he post?
Lots of things that maybe Duke Cody would appreciate.
So MRA stuff.
Yeah, MRA stuff.
Am I the a-hole?
No,
for...
anti-woke before anti-woke was the thing.
That's funny because even I noticed the woke people on Twitter hate Simu Liu. So he can't really win with any market.
A lot of it's because of that.
Yeah.
He's a crybaby. He comes off as a crybaby to me.
Great performer.
And the funny thing is, out of all of the, not out of all of them, I liked Shang-Chi better. Shang-Chi. They get mad at you when you say Shang-Chi.
Really?
Shang-Chi.
Yeah.
I liked that a lot more than I liked Eternals. Granted, Eternals was the worst of Phase 4.
It's not hard to beat.
In my opinion.
I was surprised some people thought Shang-Chi was better than Wakanda Forever.
I actually liked.
Some people rated it above Wakanda Forever.
I would.
I don't know. Like,
Hands
a lot
down.
of people
worst third act ever
disagreed.
in Shang-Chi.
Also,
but the rest of the movie very enjoyable.
It pulls off the impossible and makes Awkwafina the good comedy part of a movie, which is usually impossible. She's a. I actually liked her in that movie, and I haven't
in
really.
spite of herself.
Her personality. She also gets in trouble for. They call it what is it called when they like black scent. They would talk about how she was feigning blackness by using an accent that's supposed to be perceived as black in her music, and she got in trouble for that. And she did what they talked about in Glass Onion. She's like, give a non-apology and go offline for a few days, which is exactly what she did.
I just saw this quote tweet over Simu Liu's tweet from the Critical Drinker saying, "Your $400 million movie needed to make $800 million."
Is that true? I mean, if it had a budget of $250 million, so it would have needed to make $800 million. What I feel like a lot of these characters are, and this is the worst part, they are piggybacking off of the fame of these characters, and the best way you can describe that, or that's true, is that they won't use the lesser known characters. They would rather race swap the better known characters. That's how you know they're not willing to actually bank on the franchise, on different parts of the franchise. So they don't believe that the actors could carry a lesser known character. They believe those actors need to be carried by a better known character that's been fundamentally changed.
We talked about a word before the show that you don't like to use, except for specific instances, and I think this is one of them.
What?
Grifting. It's a grift in a sense
for the actors.
Yeah,
I mean they're just going. I cannot.
But they're gaslighting.
Yeah,
that's
okay.
the problem.
I don't knock anyone's hustle to make their money.
No.
But then gaslighting on top of it
Yes.
and blaming someone else is a grift.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
It's the same as like the Instagram people who are like, I'm a comic fan, I cosplay, please subscribe to my Patreon, I love all the things you love, and now I'm going to hate you for loving them. Like,
I'll never understand it. I'll never
I don't
understand the
understand it.
desire to hate your audience
I don't either.
or to hate the people who. But the thing is, that Marvel has continuously for so long been chasing the phantom audience. They want they're like, but women, am I right? Women, we want all the women to buy all the products.
Well, just tokenizing not only women but every supposedly marginalized group. And Simu Liu doesn't seem to realize that he is just a token to a mega corporation. His representation and inclusion in media means nothing to them.
No, nor will it ever, because that's not how businesses
I don't even
work.
think it meant that much to the viewers. And also, I found it bizarre that in his tweet he was suggesting Scorsese and Tarantino are part of the golden age of filmmaking, because that's just historically not the same generation of filmmakers. No. So he just seems ignorant all around and naive.
Remember I mentioned Aquafina. I forgot they talk about her post in here. And this is what I mean when I talk about them. They really do. If it is a grift, it's because they will say whatever they have to say to get back in good graces. She says, as a non-black POC, I stand by the fact that I will always listen and work tirelessly to understand the history and the context of AAVE, what is deemed appropriate or backwards towards the progress of any and every marginalized group, before stressing that she never intended to mock anyone. So people put the worst context on her using that voice. And like you said, they need to make their money. They need to stay relevant to specific groups of people. So they will say whatever they have to say. That, like, she said a whole lot of nothing in there. And it always comes off as if some person wrote that for them, and said, here, just say this. Mm-hmm. I get no authenticity from any of them.
That's how I felt about the Simu Liu thing he said 5 seconds ago. It's like, it sounds like somebody prepared it for him.
And let's face it, he's not a movie star. Like
no.
that, I mean, no disrespect
Very
to his
talented
to his acting on screen, but let's be fair, there aren't a lot of movie stars anymore.
No.
So
directors are more movie stars these days than actors.
They cast directors now. They don't just hire directors; they cast them in a lot of these big roles.
By Taika Waititi. It's like a big one. He's a movie star. He's just not a movie star. But it is about his name. His movie. This last movie he made was garbage. Yeah. But people are like, well, I have to like it because liking him is popular.
Yep. So
I hate that.
Let's talk about the Disney news that you were talking about. We might as well go right into it.
Yeah, sure. There's this new animated Disney movie that just came out in theaters today, actually. It's called Strange World. It's for kids, but technically all ages. And it seems that Disney has, like you said, Brett, drawn their line in the sand with China and with all of these other countries outside of the West that are not open to showing films with LGBT themes or characters in them. So they have not even attempted getting approved for theatrical release in the following countries: China, Malaysia, Indonesia, Pakistan, Turkey, Vietnam, all of East Africa, all of West Africa, the Maldives, Nepal, and Bangladesh. And they also have not submitted for theatrical release in Russia, but
I thought
that's for other geopolitical reasons compared to the rest of those countries in that list.
Putin torrents it and just loves the movie.
And the last big theatrical release of an animated film for Disney was Encanto. It did really well. It made, I think, $25 million from that list of 20 countries.
Another bit of proof that people will accept any character of any racial demographic as long as you make an original character and you don't just change a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, and don't just assume that foreign audiences are xenophobic to the point where they won't watch a movie that doesn't reflect their own culture. It's only when you try to force these themes of LGBT relationships down their throats when their culture doesn't reflect that it becomes a problem. So now Disney is not even attempting to submit for theatrical release in these countries. And this is coming off the heels of Lightyear, where they had this blink and you miss it, same-sex kiss scene towards the end of the movie. Same thing with Wakanda Forever. They had this blink and you miss it. Same sex, not even kiss, just like it was a suggestion that they were in a relationship.
It was a peck on the top of the head.
Yes, which, by the way, that actress, Michaela Cole, claimed was going to make waves in Ghana.
I am going to change the world.
Change their fundamental perceptions of LGBT people and change their legislation that discriminates against LGBT people. Absolute pipe dream delusions.
These are the actors. This is the other thing is these actors are activists, and that's another reason why they're not movie stars, is because they're more focused on how their work affects
There's no dignity and no nobility or artistic integrity.
Notice
in
how
that.
Tom Cruise doesn't give a crap about what his movies do for the world. He just wants to make stuff that
he's not
entertains you.
hustling any agenda on the side, and you can tell.
So he's like maybe I can get somebody into Scientology if I make this movie. But he's like cool airplanes, cool outfits, aviators, and a lot of masculinity. And everyone's like, let's go. And Disney's like, yeah, but how about gay?
So the main protagonist of Strange World, which is, by the way, inspired from like Journey to the Center of the Earth or like King Kong. It's a mystery sci-fi themed movie. The main protagonist is a 16-year-old boy who is gay, and they're claiming that they can't edit out the implications of his sexuality in the movie because it is so integral to the plot. And I can't imagine it's as important as they claim. But anyway, Disney has spoken to Deadline about this situation and said, in countries where we operate, we seek to share our stories in their original form as we and the artists involved have created them. If we make edits because of legal or other considerations, they will be as narrow as possible. We will not make an edit where we believe it would impact the storytelling. In that circumstance, we will not distribute the content in that market. So they're saying this underage character's sexual orientation is so integral and irreplaceable to the storytelling and the plot of this movie that it is impossible logistically to edit it out strategically and make it acceptable for international markets. I mean, I don't want to believe this, but maybe if I watch it, I'll find that they are making a child's sexual orientation the focal point of a kid's movie. I wouldn't put it past them, but it's really kind of gross and sleazy if you think about it from that perspective. I'm not surprised at all. And I don't think that this is going to do numbers as well as Encanto did for this exact reason and others. But I know that even early screenings of Strange World have not performed as well as early screenings of, like yesterday's earliest screenings of Strange World did not perform as well as Encanto's in a different, they said like as the pandemic was at a different stage when Encanto came out. So people were even less likely to come out to the theaters back then in 2021 than they are now. So I think they made like 800,000 so far off of Strange World's earliest screenings yesterday, when they made 1.5 million on the first screenings of Encanto. So already you're seeing underperformance there, and there is a surprisingly low critic score for Strange World compared to other middling animated Disney films. Like I saw it's compared to like on Rotten Tomatoes, which we know means nothing, but we're going to watch how it compares to the audience score. Strange World has 72% on the critic score. And then yet to be seen how it compares to audience. Ralph Breaks the Internet, a sequel to Wreck-It Ralph, got 88% from critics. And Raya and the Last Dragon, which I don't think anyone watched, got 94% from critics. And Frozen 2 got 77% from critics. They're very forgiving with these mediocre animated Disney films for kids. And yet still Strange World's score is the lowest on that list.
So this is where I point out that Chapek was not anti-woke. He was fine with it. He just had no clue how to actually stand up for himself.
Who insinuated he was anti-woke?
There was people who were saying that because of his,
like we saw these tweets from people on the right who said that Chapek's firing was not primarily a financial decision. It was a rebuke of woke leadership.
Yes.
But then other people were saying that Chapek didn't stand up for his LGBT employees and he was anti-gay all along.
I think you pointed out the best part is he was reactionary, and he did not understand that the navigating the world of cultural identity politics as it pertains to business is a landmine that is somebody. Okay, the other day, somebody pointed out a tweet from the NHL that said, trans men are men, trans women are women, and non-binary is real. And the first response is just like, what the does that have to do with hockey? Like, it is a world now.
And
we are
we
in a world that is run by HR departments.
The president of FIFA coming out and saying to the world in an hour-long monologue, I feel gay. I feel disabled today. I feel like a migrant worker. Like, it's absolutely maddening to watch this happen. But I wanted to read some tweets about Strange World, specifically because there are other reasons than just wokeness that this is going to do badly, in my opinion. The art is hideous. The way that they're designing characters these days is like just visually abhorrent. This one tweet said, "Time to be blunt. I think the human designs in Strange World look hideous. I have no clue what it is specifically, but they look so uncanny when compared to previous CG Disneys. Maybe it's the eyes." And if you look at their eyes, it's just like completely soulless, when the point of animation is supposed to exaggerate that
especially
expression.
around the eyes. That's
In
why
the eyes,
Lion
yeah.
King works so well.
We also
The
saw
original
this
Lion
tweet
King.
that said Disney is on its 19th first openly gay character. Another one said, "Congratulations to Strange World for having the first gay Disney character since Lightyear had the first gay Disney character since The Owl House had the first gay Disney character since Onward had the first gay Disney character since Beauty and the Beast 2017 had the first gay Disney character."
I'm very
cetera,
sick of fake
cetera.
records. I'm so sick of fake records and fake
Yeah.
firsts. We're gonna get
Finally.
that literally forever. Where it's also remember the end goal of every character is to end up gay. In these, I mean, no disrespect to anyone, but that's what it is now. It's like we finally have this, we finally have that, and that's because they believe that the end goal for all of it is to worship at the altar of identity, which to me is particularly disgusting because I find it to be your sexual identity, your racial makeup, whatever your immutable characteristics are. To me, they're the least interesting part of the people I know. Who you are as a person, how you behave, how you treat other people, the things you've worked to accomplish in your life, the things you failed at, the things you've succeeded at. That's what makes you who you are. And those are the things that you're supposed to focus on when you make these stories. The other stuff, at best, should be supplemental and incidental to the story itself. That's used to put the cherry on top of a fully prepared 3-course meal. That's the
Context.
That's
context,
yes.
yeah.
So when they do this, it's very surface level, but it's surface level in a way that would be annoying even if there wasn't a mass agenda behind it. But there is.
I think it's more than just the impoverishment of storytelling that we need to call out here. It's that this movie is particularly targeted at children. They are watching a big kid on screen whose, quote, queerness is integral to his personal character. And there's just no hiding it anymore that they're going out of their way to push this on kids, no matter whether it's a blink and you miss it moment or if it's integral to the story. In any capacity, it's something that a boardroom sat around and talked about. Yeah. It's always intentional. And that's why it is not analogous to a character in any animated Disney film having a love interest that is heterosexual, because that doesn't imply the same intentionality.
Yeah.
We know it. Like, I just am tired of denying it. And now we're seeing Candace Cameron Bure getting absolutely dragged on the internet. Well, everyone says Burr, so I'm going to say Burr.
Puree.
It's
like
It
puree.
sounds too much like baby food. Candace Cameron Bure getting dragged on the internet for saying that she wants to make movies that are family friendly, that are focused on traditional marriage and not same-sex couples for the time being. That's such a small ask. And she is just being like dragged through the mud for this. And yet, when Disney tokenizes LGBT characters specifically targeted for children, we are not supposed to bat an eye.
Yep. That's the number one thing for me is like I consider myself to be fairly socially liberal, but I say leave kids out of all of it. Leave kids alone. That's like that, and that to me doesn't feel like a large ask, right? Like give these kids time to grow up without any type of socio-political agenda or ideology behind the way you market to them. I understand that writers today write what they know, and if they're hiring writers based on identity, that these are the stories that you're going to get. But there's also such a thing as story editors, and that's the other thing is when you come from a protected, what they consider protected classes. Now, this is a big problem in comics. Is like you can't tell them their story's bad because then you're a bigot, right? So these stories don't get the rewrites they need because even if they do, even if there is the best story editor in the world in that room, he's going to think twice about saying maybe this isn't important because of the label that will garner him on Twitter after the movie comes out and it doesn't do as well as it was.
Chris Carr would never do that.
What do you mean?
Said the best story editor in the world. So Chris Carr would never. He
would make those changes anyways. When that movie comes out and it doesn't do well, and because we know that these creatives don't know how to take responsibility for their own failures, that's a big reason why yesterday we talked about Ben Affleck starting his artist equity, right? Mm-hmm. Mary?
It's artists' equity, but there's a union called Actors' Equity that we confused it with yesterday.
A profit-driven production company that would incentivize people to make things that everyone likes. Now, if there is no profit-driven motive for these creators because they're not getting deals on the back end, and all they care about is pushing forward their own ideology based on whatever their upbringing was, fine. But that's whether you like it or not, there is ideological means pressed into that story because of the way you evolved as a person. There is no incentive for the story editor to change anything because he's going to get labeled. There's no incentive for the actual writer to do it better because he's not making any money on the back end anyways, and the agenda is more important. This is what happens when you hire activists instead of actual artists. And Disney might be the worst offender out of all of them.
It's only getting worse. It's only going downhill.
And I would caution. I think Dane said the other day, he's like, I think we're coming out of wokeness. I said, well, first of all, I said when Donald Trump announced that he's running for president again, I said you just sentenced us to 12 more years of this garbage because they're gonna make it even worse because it's still Trump America. So as long as that is a thing, and as long as we're combating each other in an extremely polarized climate, the art will reflect the mindset of the people in charge, and the mindset of the people in charge is insane and oftentimes extremely, extremely not mentally ill, but one-sided.
As long as Disney is operating at a $2 billion loss and they continue churning out this ideological garbage.
I appreciate the hope in what Dane said, but we're never coming out of wokeness. We're not.
No, this is the end. Maybe we're wrong, but this feels like the end point socially because society doesn't change this quickly. And in the best argument you could make is that everyone knows it's fake. Like you read all these articles about people who talk about like they say this, but they say it just to get ahead. But as long as your persona is fake via social media, this never goes away because you're always on trial.
The only way that like the things that we talk about, or more, I guess, I say we, but like the traditional values, or even that, and that's a inappropriate and blanket term. The only way that those things come back is through necessity.
Yeah.
And we are so, we made a joke earlier about like Western woman, life's so hard because she has to carry a laptop upstairs. As long as we have that.
It's rough.
As long as we have that. No, as long as we have that lifestyle, we are so hungry for a struggle that we will substitute real struggle with manufactured struggle.
Yep.
Yeah. And the only way that the things that are valuable again, or that truly are valuable, become valuable again is when they are a necessity. Like they try to make a joke out of it. Even in Glass Onion, the Duke Cody, his whole opening monologue on YouTube or Twitch or whatever is like, it's lampooning the idea that there is a social order and hierarchy, but there is. Like, just because you say something in a funny voice doesn't make it not true. If I say like, oh, if you jump off a bridge, you'll die. Yeah, you will. So don't do it. You know, but saying like, oh, men and women are different. Yeah, they are. It doesn't matter what tone of voice you say it in. It's true. But the only way that something like that becomes important again is when you do not have a society that is so profitable and rich that it can uphold other people's convenient way of life.
People in the chat are making fun of the term back end money. Just pointing out, we like to laugh. We like to laugh here, guys. We like to laugh here. Maybe I also tend to be a pessimist when it comes to these things. So when I say that I don't see it getting better, I say that because I don't see what it evolves past to. I don't see.
Well, okay, maybe an idea or multiple ideas that are like artists' equity, a push for meritocracy and profitability in the film industry can start to change the tides. Because I already see it coming. It's so predictable that when Strange World inevitably flops at the box office, they are going to blame it on the audience because there's an openly gay character, when in reality, it's going to flop because they failed at marketing it and because they artificially inserted this ideology into the movie.
But both could be true.
It's the same thing for Bros. Like, it's always the fallback is blame the audience. I think that if we see a push for meritocracy in Hollywood, then that's the start of.
They don't even blame the audience, though. They blame trolls. You know what I mean? That's
still the audience.
This is what, no. They say this is what people actually want. People want to see Bros. They want to see this, but they were.
But where
misled.
are the numbers proving it?
No. They
Where's
were
the proof?
misled because trolls review bombed it and said it's bad, so that's why they didn't see it.
So
It
maybe
has
Digital
nothing to do with it.
manipulation.
Yeah.
Then the idea is to get away from these large company structures that force this type of homogeneity into these stories, right? Then you need 1 million of the artist equity, or you need 20 artist equities making these stories, and not one Disney, one Warner Brothers, one Universal, and all you get is Universal making the Fast and the Furious. Thank goodness for that, right? No, and then you get Disney with their garbage, and Warner Brothers with their extremely running around with their like a chicken with their heads cut off, not knowing what they're doing. At least they fail by just making bad stories. Yeah. Like most of the time when DC movies fail, at least it's not because of wokeness. It's just not good. I actually have a strange, perverse appreciation for just, wow, that was just a bad movie. Okay, like he tried. At least he tried. At least he didn't insert a bunch of garbage that was there because mommy and daddy didn't hug him enough growing up. He's like that because
Morbius. It's Marvel, but just a bad movie.
That's so true. Yeah.
Like it's like I'm okay with a movie just being bad.
Totally forgot Morbius existed, by the way.
Morbid
That
time.
happened.
Yeah.
Like
The re-release happened.
Yeah.
So yeah, well that was just them not being able to read the room in the marketing.
Jared Leto made his comeback in Glass Onion, though,
Yeah.
for sure, with that kombucha shout-outs. I hope that kombucha is real.
So this movie, and like I said, this movie will fail, and then they will like Lightyear failed, like Bros failed, like all of these movies failed, and we will just end up back at square one where they start using. To be fair, they didn't use the rage bait marketing strategy for this.
No, but I believe that when they see the numbers flopping, it's going to start getting pushed.
Okay.
The anger from the people involved in this movie is going to come out for sure.
We'll see. We'll see where it goes.
Yeah.
All right, we got a couple of super chats there.
Caper2X said, "We are grateful to you, Mary, our very Wednesday." Like Wednesday Addams.
You are Wednesday
I
Addams.
suppose. Great. Caper2X said, "Everyone now has a character to their credit. Make mine Marvel."
Yeah, it's like you get a superhero, and you get a superhero, and you get a superhero. I never would have thought I would have seen the day that all of these characters, like, I wonder if all of them feel a certain amount of like selling their soul when they get into their extremely like uninspired costumes. Like at least
Paul Rudd is just.
At least Dr. Fate looked cool in Black Adam.
It was all right.
Like,
yeah.
but like most of the costumes just tend to look so like really, really uninspired and boring now. Like it just looks like a swimmer's outfit.
Can we talk about that Sonic
how
the
I felt about
Hedgehog
his.
suit in Wakanda Forever?
What
What the hell was that?
for
When
the
they're-
Power Rangers.
the one they
Power Rangers one.
created?
Yeah, for Riri Williams.
Awful.
Yep.
High voltage, or no, it was for Okoye, wasn't it?
That one is bad too. The bug eyes.
The bug eyes with the weird tentacle.
Oh,
Look
yes.
like Masked
okay.
Rider.
Yep.
Shout out to my Masked
yeah.
Rider fans.
That was a disaster. High voltage 75 said, "Cranberry anything is gross. What's your favorite and least favorite Thanksgiving foods?" Thoughts, you guys?
It's the one time of year I eat turkey. I literally do not eat. Does anybody eat turkey any time of year other than
If I
Thanksgiving?
get a sandwich with it in it.
Yeah, maybe a turkey sandwich.
I will eat turkey at Thanksgiving.
Turkey, avocado, BLT, dude.
And also, I'm the carb guy. I just eat a ton of bread.
Having like the salty turkey
Bread decibel.
contrasted with the cranberry sauce is definitely goated and a vibe when that is the situation.
See, that is a Gen Z term if ever there was one. It's a vibe. Or
Dipping your turkey
it's
in
a
the
whole
cranberry
vibe.
sauce is a goated situation when doing so is the vibe.
It's a whole vibe.
Sauerkraut said, I just saw there is going to be a new Willow show. Yeah, we talked about that when the D23 Expo happened.
Mary was like,
I
there's
was
only
like,
one new
look,
show
it's
coming."
original. And then you were like, nope.
Nope.
Johnny Derp said, Rectum Ralph, our new LG HD TV hero. That is all. Yeah.
All right.
Joe Schmo 32 Electric Boogaloo said Raya and the Last Dragon was awesome. The whole movie was about trust, not rushing to judgment, and the danger of demonizing others outside your tribe. 0% woke. It had very high audience score alongside the critics score. I think maybe higher from the audience by only a few points. So
Someone in the chat said, "Boo Willow, leave it alone." There is such a thing as just learn to leave it alone. Like,
all right.
like
They won't.
it would be like they could win back a lot of trust by like announcing a bunch of remakes and then saying, upon further inspection, we've decided that these projects stand on their own as true testaments to art, and we are going to not do anything. And then I'd be like,
We self-reflected
yeah.
for the first time.
So on, I had a show with Aaron before called Spark of Madness, and we had a I don't know what you call it, like a button to bring up a graphic. Whenever you talk about remakes, they never remake bad movies. Remake Dragonheart. Remake movies that weren't that good. If you're going to do that, if you're out of ideas, take something that was not good and remake that rather than making like remember the thing that you love.
Remake Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Well, they are.
"What's
The series.
Yeah.
No.
What's another
I'm even
example?
more fearful about that.
Like something to remake.
Yeah.
Well, they're remaking The Saint, which is.
Why would you do that?
I don't think that's that great of a movie. I loved it as a kid, but I rewatched
love
it. It's
Val
not very
Kilmer.
good. I do too. But the movie's not very. He's wonderful,
Oh.
but the movie's not very good.
Also, guys, since we're on a similar subject, I am going to give you a recommendation for something to watch for the Thanksgiving weekend. If you have Hulu, I would ask all of you to go and watch the movies for The Librarian, which were TNT movies from Dean Devlin in the early 2000s. Think like low budget Indiana Jones meets The Mummy. And Noah Weil is extremely charming in the lead role. In fact, more so than he is when he reprises the role in the TV show with Rebecca Romaine Stamos later on. It's got Bob Newhart, who, by the way, is still alive. Born in 1929, like a gazillion years old, still kicking. Jane Curtin. And it just comes at a time where, first of all, he's kind of an early example of like a nerdy character that becomes cool. He's a book nerd who's got 22 college degrees, but he gets the girl because he's also an adventurer in the movies. It's gloriously devoid of agenda. It's very, very simplistic storytelling that's fun. If you like the show Warehouse 13, which I did, it was a sci-fi show from 2010, about a large like building that houses artifacts that have magic. It's very, very charming. There's 3 movies. Oh, by the way, one of them has Gabrielle Anwar in it. She does, in fact, have a belly button.
Oh, wow.
She does.
So that must have changed somewhere along the line.
So
She decided to have her belly button removed.
So just guys, go and check it out. I think it's they're not that long. They're like an hour and 40 minutes. It's not a whole ton of your time. They're charming. Go check them out.
Potatoes for Seamus said, Brett, about me coming on the show, Yesh must accompany me on the show as well. Hashtag Yesh, build that new patio. Hashtag don't burn the turkey. Hashtag fry dat turkey.
There's no there's no supposed
I
to
feel like
not be
this is
spaces
part of
between the hashtags.
This is part of a conversation that I am not initiated in.
No, this happened on air. He's like he basically he's going to be on the show, he says, and then we just kind of went with it. So apparently he's going to be on the show. All right.
Crispy Like Transport LLC said, when you guys review the movies, after you see it, review them. when we review them after we review them, only the ones you've seen. Can you do a system 1, wait for the stream, to 10 must-sees in theater type system?
Maybe a 3-tier system, like don't see, wait for streaming, or go see it in theaters.
Yeah. I would say see it in theaters for Glass Onion then.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and that's
100%.
unlimited. There's limited time to do that,
Yeah.
so definitely go check it out this weekend.
You got a week.
Matt's S-Box Emporium said, I missed Tim during my work day, but y'all are all right.
Well, we are glad to
Wow.
be your side piece.
Look, he has abandoned you all today. There is no IRL tonight, but we're here.
We're here working.
Don't you worry.
We're here working hard.
Just a bunch of clumps of cells sitting here at the table.
Just 3 clumps of cells doing our jobs.
Waffle Sensei said, stuffing is the most important Thanksgiving food. We never answered the question.
I said I eat turkey and bread. I'm literally a carb guy. So
Stuffing and mashed potatoes are my favorite, I think.
Wesley,
Yeah. If there is a like from scratch baked mac and cheese there.
oh, that was never
Yeah.
that was never like a regular in my family.
Me
That
neither.
That
Yeah.
sounds very good.
It
right
was
now,
for
though.
church. Like the tradition, somebody made that.
That should be a must.
Now I'm hungry. Dang it. I mean, I was hungry before the show, but now I'm hungry again.
Tacti Platty said, Mary, you've lost your reply guy for supporting Big Avocado. Hope you have a Merry Thanksgiving. I'm sorry.
Are you
I
a
like.
shill?
No, because I said I like turkey avocado BLTs.
Avocado cartels.
So I've sinned against Tacti Platty. I'm complicit.
The avocado cartels have
Look, avocado is good.
It is good.
What can I say? Waffle Sensei said Raya and The Last Dragon was good. Only problem was a little bit of communist messaging, but hey, it's supposed to be representative of the Chinese.
Okay.
He also said, can we just leave Avatar The Last Airbender alone? It's already perfect the way it is. The new series is apparently going to be sexual. Oh no. And the OG writers for the cartoon left the production because they're changing it. Oh, that's so awful.
Okay, I have a question for you because we talked about we talk a lot about things being sexless. How can Hollywood somehow be overly sexualized but somehow also completely sexless?
It's like they're voyeurs, but would never engage
Yeah.
themselves.
Well, no, it's the women are the women are sexualized, but then complain 20 years later that they were sexualized, and the men are just not sexualized at all, unless it's like Magic Mike. And now,
Marvel,
we're
Marvel
gonna
men
talk
are
about that
sexualized.
later.
no, Marvel men are humiliated.
True.
Marvel men are humiliated. I find that to be the opposite of sexual. I find it to be they imagine being this dude who works out for 5 years to get this amazing physique, all to just be humiliated in your own movie.
It's almost sad. You know how you said one time when I was on here that Hollywood doesn't understand functional relationships?
They don't.
Like you were talking about one particular show. Or no, was it a video game?
Maybe.
With like a perfect relationship?
People were. I think people were referencing. Dane might have been referencing Final Fantasy.
No, you were referencing something, a very functional relationship in either a show or a video game. I can't remember.
Interesting.
But they don't understand sexuality either. The only thing they understand is humiliation because that's their only experience.
They get
with it.
those eyes wide shut parties right, though. I'm
Yeah,
sure.
they do, man.
I think that they're like former theater kids who are socially ostracized and don't understand real human connection.
I think they're satanic.
That too.
I had a friend who made that observation when the Me Too stuff came out. He's like, well, just imagine you give a bunch of theater nerds first of all, you've weeded out the ugly ones. You get the best looking theater nerds. You give them unlimited amounts of money and power, and then you expect things to not go wrong.
Yeah, exactly.
There's one more there. Oh no, there's two more there.
Potatoes for Seamus said, Mary, what about Hawaiian rolls? I don't think of Hawaiian rolls as Thanksgiving food, but I do love a good Hawaiian roll, and there is my philosophy that it's actually a metaphor for humanity, that we're all connected but distinct.
Not Ellen Rogers says Brett still thinks that male movie stars work out for years to obtain their physiques. Try months, dude. Yes, there's a reason why I jokingly said just give these dudes steroids when Namor got his. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
I'm just saying that certain ones, like Tom Cruise actually wrote like an article back in the day where he talked about the importance of staying in shape because it's important for you to be visually and aesthetically pleasing on camera, which is now only applicable to men and women when they're younger, and as they're older, you just become progressively more of a bigot if you try to ask a woman to stay in shape.
I don't know, man. Did you see Kate Hudson?
Kate Hudson
Holy,
looked good.
she can get it.
Yeah, she was. I was like, damn.
I mean, I've always
girl,
felt that way.
You're
but
doing those crunches, huh?
You asked me like my favorite movie, Almost Famous. What do you think?
Yeah, and then I'm sorry, but the other girl was like ridiculously good looking.
Oh, Jessica Henwick?
No.
Madeline Klein.
Madeline.
yeah.
Her name.
They just like literally they looked up hot girl on the internet and just
All I
hired the
found
first
her
person
in was Stranger Things
Yeah.
as like some cameo, and then there was one other thing I recognized, but I guess this is like a big role for her.
Also, let's
She's very
talk
good.
real quick about the continued like dumbing down of Jessica Henwick's absolutely gorgeous looks. They keep making her look plain Jane, and I find it an affront to my eyes and to society in general that you would take such a beautiful woman and constantly make her look so plain.
Well, she's supposed to take it as a compliment, right? Because the less sexually attractive you are, the more of a human being you are.
Somehow.
You are.
Somehow.
Did she say this?
The more depth you have.
She said that?
No,
No. Okay.
I'm just saying, like, that's what we're supposed to accept as the paradigm now.
I like my understanding of it, not my understanding, my interpretation of it is that to me she is so outstandingly good looking that the only way to make that character believable that she would even be in that position is to try to do that.
That
And
she's the
only-
assistant, not the
right, and
model.
and that she's the only one that had like the nuance and the depth to be able to pull off that character, even though there wasn't much there on the page.
No.
She still seemed believable.
Yeah. All right.
Am I simping for her? Yes.
Go.
Simp
She was
forward,
good.
yeah.
She's simpable.
She was very good. Very good in the very forgettable Iron Fist.
Very good in the very forgettable Matrix Resurrections.
That's beyond. That was a travesty.
But very forgettable in the very forgettable Gray Man.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I actually liked that movie a lot.
No,
But,
what is wrong with you, Wesley?
liked
I
it.
question your judgment so often.
Even
I enjoyed it.
I mean, I enjoyed it when I watched it. It's just something I would never watch a second time.
No, I'll never watch it again. But I enjoyed. There was much. I was like, for a Netflix movie.
I just see it as like they're not trying. It's not trying to be something it's not. Chris Evans is trying to do like a weird Jim Carrey. It doesn't really work, but it's fine.
I don't know. I like movies like Harley Davidson and the Marlboro Man, and that kind of just reminded me of it, like those '80s.
It must have been the
mistakes.
mustache.
Yeah.
All right. There's one more.
There are two more.
Two more.
The Big Sleepy said, "You guys rock." Brett, have you seen Grimm?
I love Grimm.
My friends
I
have
love David Giantoli. I love Bitsy Tulloch. I love Silas. I don't know if it's Weir or Wire. I love Bree Turner. All of those actors are fantastic. They build a believable Portland because it's actually filmed in Portland. The only thing that's not believable is that there's no Antifa blowing things up every 5 minutes in the
It
show.
started in
before that.
2011,
Yeah.
which means, of course, Brett likes it.
Yes, David Hornsby is fantastic in that, and it's one of those shows where it started to lose me.
Russell?
Russell Hornsby? Did I say David? Yeah,
Yeah.
Russell Hornsby. And it started to lose me when they introduced the Trouble character in season 4. But in general, the plot line with the Royals, it's very, very pulp. It's very, very fantasy, but it's done at this police station. It's very, very... And the other one, Sasha, I don't know if it's pronounced Ruiz or Ruiz, but the other guy in that show, he's one of those actors where everything else I've seen him in, he plays mildly comical. So it's really funny to see him do like kind of like humorous stuff. And then he plays a very serious character in that. And it's actually fairly good like TV budget CGI for the turns that they make when they become the different creatures, right? When they
ABC, right?
When they vogue, yeah.
I got Disney money.
Yeah. So it's very good. I recommend it's on Hulu. I recommend everyone go check it out. It was very dark for its time to be I think it was a 9:00 slot show. So definitely go check it out.
Dash Fortune said, I picked up a couple of buckets of chicken for my work crew this morning. Were you guys aware that KFC offers deep frying turkeys? Happy holidays.
I did not know that.
I didn't know that, but that's based.
No, I didn't.
I miss popcorn chicken. Do they still make popcorn chicken?
Like popcorn
Likely.
shrimp.
Popcorn chicken was great.
Been a long time since I've had KFC.
I don't even remember the last time I watched KFC. Right.
Did you watch?
Is there a movie called KFC?
No, there's
No.
Kentucky Fried Movie.
There we go.
Sebastian K said Speedy from the Green Arrow was the most unbelievable superhero character ever put on screen. 90 pounds, soaking wet, beating up people twice her size.
That is not the most unbelievable part about it. The most unbelievable part about it is she does it in 3 months. She basically leaves with her dad, with John Barrowman's with Merlin, and 3 months later she's fighting crime on the street and she is 90 pounds and beating people up. At least Katie Cassidy was kind of tall.
Yeah, but she did it like
Her costume
she had
looks
night
sick.
kickboxing classes, and that's how she became a
And
superhero.
the other thing that's
I
funny
hated
about that is because Stephen Amell is such a Chad, and he had to stay in such good shape to have those ab shots in every show. Also, another example of men being sexualized heavily. What you can do is watch the Felicity Smoke character in season 1 and watch her get gradually buffer as the show goes on. Like her muscle tone changes throughout the show because everyone worked out together. But yes, out of all of them, Willa Holland said that she had the most trouble with it because she didn't like working out like the rest of them, and it was a lot harder for her. Also, the guy who played Diggle, he's enormous. Like in real life, he's always got like a suit on, and Oliver Queen is always shirtless, so Oliver Queen looks like the big one, and then Diggle's just mad buff. So I recommend everyone go watch the first 2 seasons of Arrow. Another fantastic time in storytelling before it
100%.
got
Yeah.
I just realized I only know this actress from Gossip Girl.
Yeah,
Katie Cassidy or Willa Holland?
I actually liked season 3 up until I liked the Matt Nabels version of Ra's al Ghul. I actually didn't hate it, and then
It's
4
not
was
a great season.
No.
But it has elements of
4
good.
was awful. Season 5 with Prometheus, played by Josh Segarra, is fantastic,
Yep.
and then it goes downhill from there. Yep.
Yeah, season 5 was good.
All right, I think there's one more there.
Bobcat said, well, you're supposed to watch what you eat, so Brett isn't entirely wrong.
I'm not.
You can watch your KFC. If you
Okay.
watch what you eat.
All right.
I don't know.
We got a loophole there.
Watch your diet.
All right, guys, we're moving on. Ice Cube, vaccine, bigotry, and all sorts of hypocrisy coming from Hollywood. Basically, Ice Cube turned down a $9 million movie role because he wouldn't get jabbed.
I watched the clip that he revealed this in on Barstool Sports, actually, and when they said, wow, you denied a $9 million role, he was like, I didn't deny it. I didn't turn it down. They didn't give it to me because I didn't do this thing. I didn't comply with this requirement. So it's really not turning it down. It wasn't something that he chose freely.
Semantics.
Yeah, but I mean, ultimately, now people are calling into question whether or not this deal even existed, which is
That's different.
reaching. I don't know.
What, like he wouldn't, like he's lying?
Like he needs to provide proof because they don't think that Ice Cube is worth a $9 million deal.
Also remember that the other ice of the ices is super based when it comes to guns. Ice-T is very pro-gun.
But Ice
in Second
Cube
Amendment.
has an iconic Twitter presence that I absolutely adore.
Who's the one married to Coco? I think that's Ice-T.
It's iced tea.
We need a Venn diagram of Ice-T and Ice Cube and all of their similarities and differences.
The first thing this reminded me of was I brought up when Rockman Dunbar got fired from 911 because he wouldn't get vaccinated, and he tried to file a religious exemption, and they're like no because they were full of bigots. We can turn their terminology back around on them. They're bigots.
Here's the quote from Ice Cube for context. He said, "I didn't want to get the mother effing jab." He said, I turned down $9 million. I didn't want to get the jab. F that jab. F y'all for trying to make me get it. I don't know how Hollywood feels about me right now. He continued, those MFers didn't give it to me because I wouldn't get the shot. I didn't turn it down. They just wouldn't give it to me. And he said the COVID shot, the jab, I didn't need it. I didn't catch that S at all. Nothing. F them. I didn't need that S.
And you
So
have to remember,
clearly he feels very strongly about this.
if this
How
was
can you tell?
If this was a couple of years ago, this is where the people who had no attention, who didn't pay attention to anything but mainstream news, would have still believed that getting it would have prevented others from contracting
Well, no,
it.
it's to this very day. I see people dragging Ice Cube on Twitter right now.
Think of the children.
Because he basically, by saying this, you are pointing a gun at immunocompromised people's heads. It's just like, there's no reaching these people. But I think the ultimate point here is, aside from how you feel about this medical treatment or its merits, it's clearly stifling artistic opportunities.
Can I point out something that my own struggle, right? I'm the type of I try to give everyone the benefit of the doubt, right? If I see somebody outside now and they're still wearing a mask, I'm going to assume that they're immunocompromised and they're just being extremely safe. But I find on my bad days when I'm annoyed, I see it and I get annoyed because I'm like, how do you not realize that this has been that.
I think that that's completely unrelated from how celebrities are expected to react to these measures, and like whether or not they can get jobs based on their vaccination status. Like even Leticia Wright, which we're gonna get into. There's a much different standard because they're seen as role models.
And it's a purity symbol to them.
Yeah, and if you don't get this treatment, then you are morally unclean and you're showing a bad example to your impressionable fan base, et cetera, et cetera.
Let's talk about Leticia Wright then. She basically she had to respond to an article from the Hollywood Reporter that essentially compared her to a spousal abuser for not getting the vaccine and saying that it was going to hurt her chance to win an Oscar for Black Panther Wakanda Forever. First of all, lulz.
It's insane.
I liked her in that role. It's not an Oscar. Even me, who hates the Oscars, that's if it is, it's pandering, right? But she has been gracious at all levels on this. She made her views known. People jumped down her throat, said the most awful stuff about her, and she just deleted her Twitter. She said, I don't want to deal with it.
Well, now here's her response to the Hollywood Reporter article. She said, I had to unblock Hollywood Reporter just to post this. Scott Feinberg and all at this publication, you are all incredibly disrespectful. How dare you? You mentioned my name alongside men who have been accused of abuse and sexual misconduct. This is vile behavior. At this point, a personal vendetta towards me. I've done nothing wrong, but respectfully refuse to do interviews with this publication. Stop your nonsense. I apologized 2 years ago. Remained silent on the topic. You lied and said I continued talking about it with my cast and crew on my set. This was not true. Ask my producer and director. The film is successful. Your agenda towards me is now even more clear. I won't remain silent. Stop your disgusting behavior. And then she tagged the journalist, queen move by the way, saying this personal agenda with your friends at Hollywood Reporter is disgusting. I've remained silent as the world told me to myself 2 years ago for a video I posted and apologized for. I kept my head down and focused on my craft, and now I'm on the other side of it. Here you are, as a so-called journalist we are meant to trust, putting my name into this nasty article for what? You lack substance, you clearly have nothing to report. The movie is beautiful, impactful, and breaking box office. I worked my ass off with my cast and crew to dedicate it to my brother. How dare you? Did my performance rattle you that much? It was that excellent. I'm still here, still making an impact, still creating projects that touch people's hearts, and it's not going to stop. Get a life for real. This is what celebrities need to start doing. They need to call out the journalists that think they are above retribution. They are above getting called out for these cheap call outs and really, like, when she said this is a targeted vendetta, it absolutely is. And what journalists want to say is that they are truth seekers, and to call them out on a public platform when you have a much larger following is punching down. And that's completely untrue. If anything, they are punching down at Leticia Wright.
The journalists have all the power now. They do.
They're the bullies on social media. They can rally thousands and thousands of people to bully a celebrity like this.
And as long as your name is tied to your career, right? And the first thing that people are going to do when they look you up is get headlines about you. There's so much power in that it honestly should be considered terrifying that anyone anyone of any political agenda would be able to have that much power and go after individuals as a whole, because we live in the internet age. When you get hired someone, they Google your name. If you're an actor, they Google your name. What's the first thing that comes up when you look a person up, right? So for a while, when you looked up Leticia Wright, all you got was Leticia Wright anti-vaxxer, Leticia Wright post conspiracy
extremist.
religious extremist.
Yeah. And if that wasn't character assassination enough, they've gone further to invoke the power of Me Too and the implications of that and superimposed it onto her and others. I saw this tweet that said, nothing Leticia Wright or Will Smith did warranted comparing them to a man who abused his wife and kids, a pedophile, and a man notorious for abusing women in the industry. Pitt, Polanski, and Weinstein are terrible human beings who deserve to rot in hell.
We've got no proof about Brad Pitt.
Brad Pitt aside,
the other two,
it's insane to take the implication of a Me Too allegation and then impose it onto somebody who didn't get a vaccine to stay on a set, and secondly, someone who had an emotional outburst on live TV.
Yeah. It's bad enough to do all this to someone with nefarious intentions. It's 100 times worse, in my opinion, to do it under the guise of the moral good of society and because you're a journalist seeking truth, which is just a lie.
It is. It reminds me, like, I've said this before about other things, but this is a perfect microcosm of it, is that Hollywood perpetuates this myth that victims are angels.
Yeah, there is no complicated victim anymore.
Right. And but also that, like, if you have experienced some sort of bullying, you will somehow have insight that people who haven't don't. But it's not true. You're individuals, and most of those individuals become vindictive and awful and terrible. And this is it. This is it's the same, even further microcosm of it is that people who are championing fairness and goodness and kindness say fire her because she's a stupid bitch. Yeah. The same people.
There's nobody meaner than somebody who has be kind in their Twitter profile.
Yes. Or someone who is a blue check on Twitter thinks they are part of an untouchable class above the rest.
You know, they say they hate cops because cops are assholes who want power over somebody. It's the same thing that an entertainment journalist is. Maybe not all of them, but for the most part.
A-jab. All journalists are bastards.
I mean, if only celebrities took the lead from Leticia Wright and started calling out these reporters who just think that they have a right to openly defame and character assassinate
Also,
them.
Wouldn't that make them racist? If we're playing by their rules, doesn't that make them racist?
Ends justify the means.
Well, that's actually
how they feel.
I actually had that in my notes. That's a thing I want to talk about. I think we've gotten so much, like you talked about earlier. Well, of course it's from 2011, so he likes it. 30 years of media, and one through line that I've noticed is they love stories about the ends justifying the means, and I think that's indicative of their personality. They say that when you read something about a writer, it tells you more about the writer themselves than about the story. I think that has been a through line in Hollywood. It's been a through line in writing for a very long time that, yes, it's okay to do bad things as long as you're doing it in the name of moral good. Sure, we're assassinating the character of a woman who did nothing wrong except for post a video you don't like, but we're doing it in the name of getting people vaccinated so that if it saves just one life, unless we're sending $50 billion to Ukraine, they don't care about, they don't understand that the ends that they do justify the mean, that they do. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
You have to, it matters. How you get to where you're going matters.
Yeah. And it's so weird. It's so weird that I'm partially the way I am because of the stories they told me growing up, about not conforming, about not giving into peer pressure. And then just the last 10 years now has been this. It markedly changed in 2012. That's when I saw it.
What would you consider to be the point of where you noticed it?
I don't think it was a point. I have more esoteric beliefs on why this is happening, I'd say. But
do tell.
The dawning of the age of Aquarius.
Go on.
Yeah, that's what I think. It's a time so the age of Pisces was about order and reason, but the age of Aquarius is about not that. And that's where we are now. Like it's the end of the age of Jesus and the start of the age of the man.
Mary, do you know what this is? The dawning of the age of Aquarius? Does that make sense to you?
No, it does
I
not.
I don't know what that is.
Wesley is far more educated in esoterica than I am.
Yeah. But it's a Jesus thing. Okay. No, I just think that it's a time of like lost individuals looking for like not religious but spiritual validation through empty means. And if you are chasing an empty hole, you'll always be chasing an empty hole. And so that's why we're here, to make it a little bit more grounded. And something about, I don't know why, that's not where it all started. That's just where it goes from being like an aberration to being the norm. And now it is the norm. Like that is the way things are.
I also found this. I just Googled this earlier, and I remembered reading something about this when we were watching Dexter originally. This is a COVID-19 safety worker sued Paramount because basically she was trying to do her job, and she was getting in the way of getting the show done, so they fired her. So they were brought. She's trying to bring them down for trying to follow their own guidelines.
Same thing as that one production assistant on the Dahmer series who was responsible solely for swabbing people's noses on set,
and then wondered why
no one knew her name, no one liked her, and she was mistaken for another PA.
It's all hypocrisy.
No, not that.
Aw.
All right, I want you to tell me about Skins because I've never seen Skins.
Oh, of course.
I want you to tell me about it.
Yeah, I've seen almost all of Skins, and if you guys are unaware of what this series was, it's a British teen drama that aired on E4 between 2007 and 2013. And it's definitely a favorite among, the girls who smudge their eyeliner, myself included.
So I wouldn't have been the target demographic.
Yeah,
Okay.
Not really. But also, I kind of fall out of that demographic just because I was not watching this type of content when it was airing. I watched it later on.
Okay.
So we see this story from one of the stars of their original cast, which was the most famous and well-known. Her name is April Pearson, and she played Michelle Richardson in the series. She was the girlfriend of Tony Stoneham, played by Nicholas Hoult. Nicholas Hoult was kind of the only star that was a star before getting casted in it, who was a star after.
Yeah.
The rest of the cast, I really didn't see move on to huge projects afterwards. But anyway, April Pearson recently talked about her effed up experience while filming Skins with another cast member from another season who she did not interact with. They talked about this on her podcast. It is literally called "Are You Michelle from Skins?" Which is kind of on the nose.
It's a good hook.
So April was 18 when she was casted on the show, and for that reason, she says she was expected to do a lot more sexually explicit scenes in the show than her younger cast members. And what I gather is that they aimed to make it gritty and realistic, so they chose mainly unknown actors who were actually the ages that they were portraying, so that they would have a real connection on screen. So April was a little bit older than the rest of the cast members and was expected to do certain things on camera that the younger cast members were not. She said, "At the time, you're young and you don't know any better. You don't really know what to say, to speak out. Is this okay? And as with a lot of victims of trauma, you look back at it and think, yeah, that was effed up. There's a difference between being officially old enough and mentally old enough. I was having this conversation with my husband, and I was saying I do feel like I was too young. I feel like I wasn't protected." And then the other actress said, "I do think, fair enough, we are actors and we're acting. But I think if you want to pluck children out of the street," which is quite literally what they did, which is essentially what they're doing to have an authentic on-screen thing going on, there needs to be a bit more help. And then they said other cast members, both men and women from the series, expressed a similar sentiment. And April continued, "We're talking 7 series of the same show and everyone feeling the same. Certainly the women and some of the men I've spoken to feel the same. And nowadays you have an intimacy coordinator as a standard for nude intimate scenes, and that just simply wasn't a thing back then." There was one point, they also talked about like body image expectations for the cast, and that's kind of a different conversation altogether.
You're not allowed to have expectations for women anymore, so that's out.
They said at some point we were told to skip breakfast and for dinner have a jacket potato. At the time I thought it was horrible, but I think it's so much effing worse now. If anything, those expectations have completely fallen to the wayside. In fact, they're going for the opposite extremes where they look to cast overweight actresses.
You can just be body
like in
positive.
Euphoria, they went out and explicitly chose an overweight actress to be part of that ensemble cast.
Yeah, but are the other cast members
anyway.
allowed to look like that? Maybe like that one's you're the overweight
yeah,
one.
they
so.
have to tokenize it
Yeah.
now instead of just being realistic about what people want to see on screen.
Yep.
Anyways, as far as the conversation of was this exploitative, I think it was, and I think that claiming just because she was over 18 means that she was somehow automatically more autonomous than she was the day before, it's nonsensical and it's delusional. And the fact that adult producers and writers are explicitly looking for children off of the street to play in this series, and they write these scenes to portray underage people doing these things together, it's disgusting, it's pedophilic, and don't even tell me that that's not influencing the viewers to think it's acceptable.
If you're an adult, allow me to play the world's smallest violin.
She's not an adult.
But while on the show, she was under 18.
She's not an adult just because she turned 18. And by the way, being an adult doesn't make doing those scenes okay. And it doesn't make it not exploitative just because you're an adult.
Then change the
It's
laws
inherently
around
exploitative.
it.
And
Right, no,
it's
I would say
exploitative
it's
of
more
the
about
audience.
awareness rather than somebody should be prosecuted.
Yeah,
It's like, hey, these things are happening, and she'd be doing. I would say her saying this is less about those people should be tried and I deserve something. It's more about, hey, kids, don't do this.
Right.
You're not ready. The show is telling you that you're ready, but you're not.
It's interesting because she's gone to TikTok and she's celebrated like that this show has gained a cult fan base and she's engaged with fans, and there are positive memories that she has from it.
But she's advertising her podcast based off of who she was on this podcast that she's now saying traumatized her.
That's
Off the show that
off the show.
well,
that
she's not
traumatized
saying that
Make
all of
lemonade.
her experience on the show was traumatic. She's just saying that some of it she's had to reevaluate later on in life and realize, yeah, I was pressured into doing that when I didn't understand the consequences.
which is a responsible thing to do.
The responsible thing to do. Yeah, I mean, my opinions aren't going to be very well liked here, and that it's that you're an adult and you took
18-year-old girls aren't adults.
You're
though.
an adult. You made if she was under 18 and
What?
did
Okay, tell me this. What makes a 17-year-old and 364 day, like 17 years and 364 days, you are less autonomous than the next day?
So then what do we do? Then I just
it's not true.
I understand
the point
idea
is
that
these
her brain
people in
is not-
Hollywood and the people who are creating these shows featuring teens, underage characters, whether or not they're underage in reality, they're pedophiles.
Haven't we also pushed this culture for a long time that women mature faster than men? Like that's been the story for like the last women. They mature faster than men. You got to your boyfriend's dumb, but don't worry, he'll mature eventually. He's just a dumb guy because he's not. His brain isn't done developing yet. Your brain doesn't like 26, right?
Yeah. That's
when your brain gets done developing. So then somebody tell me the age when it is okay for these people to make decisions for themselves.
I feel like you're trying to draw a hard line when what she's trying to do is tell people don't do something like this if you're not sure you're ready.
I'm particularly
and don't do student, aged sex stories. Like
I'm particularly rubbed raw by the victimhood culture of I did this thing when I was a legal adult that I maybe shouldn't have done, and now I'm going to complain about it. Changes have been made.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like she's doing it to get something. She's doing it to warn others.
Well, look what change has been made. Yeah. Now we have
intimacy coordinators.
We have intimacy coordinators who are really just liability, like they are prevention teams.
But she's not.
And then we have actors and actresses in their mid to late 20s playing underage characters doing even more disgusting shit on camera. It's pedophilic, and it's been the same
Like
since
Euphoria?
the 2000s. Yes, the Euphoria scenes included. They're pedophiles.
Euphoria
How do
being
I
the-
emphasize this enough?
Euphoria
It's not
being the worst example.
Being the worst.
The
It's pretty bad.
of recent memory, the worst example. Yeah, absolutely.
It's insane, actually.
And absolutely, I agree that there's a distinct lack of morality in Hollywood, but I hate the play both sides of the coin that they all seem to do. First of all, it's like you said, I see articles all the time, and I was like, I felt so safe with my intimacy coordinator there. I'm like, did your manager make you say that? Like, do you not understand what that person's job is? Their job isn't there. That's like saying I felt safe because the HR freaking rep was there. They're not there to protect you. They're there to protect the company because it's a business. You got involved in a exploitative, multi-billion-dollar industry that everybody knows is full of pieces of garbage. I understand that you're young and you are ambitious and you have a lot of things you want to accomplish, and that maybe these people didn't go about this in the right way. But we have to, at a certain point, understand that, and in the country, a legal age is a legal age, and I don't have the utmost sympathy for all these people who then monetize the word trauma 20 years later. But still make money off the name of the podcast being there. I'm sorry. Maybe I'm unreasonable here.
No,
but
I would agree
don't-
with you if it was that she was trying to do something for self-gain, but not tell other people, hey, don't do this.
It just
You
always...
may think you're ready, but you're not. Or maybe those up-and-coming 17 and 364-day-year-olds are about to do this, and they don't know that it's an industry full of garbage.
like
'cause
the
they're
girl
on
in House of
TikTok.
the Dragon.
that
playing
was
Allison.
that would be a
Clear
better
example
example of like
grooming.
hiring her before she's 18, knowing that she's going to do that, or even Maisie Williams being hired in her early teens and then doing
at 11,
and then doing nude scenes once she turns 18. Yeah, that stuff is disgusting. But when somebody is 17 and a half and then becomes 18 and takes this job, it's just, I don't have the utmost. I'm sorry. I don't have a ton of sympathy for her. Did she say she was abused, or just that the scenes themselves were? We're not saying that somebody committed a crime.
No,
here.
She
We're
said
saying
she was
that-
she's just
discussing
warning
it
other
with
people.
her husband later, like reflecting on the experience, and said, I shouldn't have done that, and I wasn't ready. And she wouldn't have had that job without consenting to doing those scenes. Right. It's definitely... The blame is on the pedophile creeps in the production teams, not the actors and actresses.
And maybe her
Period.
parents for not raising her to make better choices that maybe she should have seen ahead and seen, maybe this isn't the best thing for me.
You're right, but that is what she's trying to make up for now with other people, rather
Right.
than get it onto her. Not saying like I'm owed something because of this, but I hope other people don't make the same mistake, which I think is an admirable thing, and kind of putting yourself out there. As much as I hate Hollywood, as much as I hate actors and actresses, I don't dislike strongly. That's pretty good thing to do. Point out that, hey, this is not good. This is, without saying that we shouldn't be making shows like this, because you shouldn't, as somebody just like you is very libertarian in these things. Is it allowed? Yeah, then you should be able to do it. But should we discourage it socially? Perhaps.
I'm just rubbed raw with all of the freaking woe is me.
Yeah.
I was trauma, monetized trauma. I'm at my wit's end with it. And I know that sounds uncaring. I don't mean to sound rude or mean to anyone, but all of these actresses, and maybe it's the day I read them on, it always comes off as, look at me, I was sexually liberated when I was 18. Oh my God, I used my sexuality, which is when they're at their peak, for their selling value, which is abhorrent in and of itself. Yeah. At that age, they use it while they can. And then when they're later, they monetize it by making it about how the sexuality that they made money off of when they were younger was something they later used to monetize again by saying that they didn't understand what they were doing, even though they were what this country considers legal age. Mm-hmm. I understand.
I agree that trauma is monetized and commodified. However, April Pearson's comments here do not fall into that category.
Maybe it's my own problem with having to read this stuff day after day. Anytime I see these things now, I was talking about something earlier. It's like when I see any performer now that leans into their sexuality, and these girls are young, they're 18, they're 19, they're 20 years old. They're doing erotic performances during music. They perform erotically if they're musicians. They do these acting roles when they're. How young was that girl who played that role in that movie we watched today? Mm-hmm. Right? Like I see it now. And and they want to be young and they want to be independent. I'm an adult. I can make decisions for myself. I will not be shamed for my sexuality. Women, we just saw a thing earlier, Meghan Markle. Women get shamed and slut shaming, and women shouldn't be. You should be encouraged to lean into your sexuality until you hit 35, and then you talk about how you were manipulated for it by someone when you were richer. Personal responsibility has to come into it at a certain point. And I just think that maybe a middle ground would be nice. Maybe you're right. Maybe the idea here is that she's not saying woe is me. She's saying look out for yourselves. Yeah. I can respect that. Maybe for me, it's just I'm seeing a lack of clarification there. And I would have liked to see her say something along the lines of
women now. Yeah.
Yes. So maybe
and there's a more clear-cut case of exploitation that we're about to get into now. There's an update on the Balenciaga ad campaign. Balenciaga has finally broken their silence and issued apologies for the ad campaign that featured children holding BDSM teddy bears, as well as a court document pertaining to virtual CP. On their Instagram story, they said, "We sincerely apologize for any offense our holiday campaign may have caused. Our plush bear bags should not have been featured with children in this campaign. We have immediately removed the campaign from all platforms. We apologize for displaying unsettling documents in our campaign. We take this matter very seriously and are taking legal action against the parties responsible for creating the set and including unapproved items for our Spring 23 campaign photo shoot."
I love that word.
We strongly condemn abuse of children in any form. We stand for children's safety and well-being. So essentially, they are framing the photographer and set designers and claiming that they were ignorant when we know that in the fashion industry and really just any marketing campaign whatsoever from a corporation this large, they are aware of each and every visible element in a photo shoot. There is intentionality to the inclusion and placement of everything that is visible to customers. Yeah. They left this court document completely legible for the public to see. And I think they were planning on getting away with this. They were called on their bluff. And now you're left cornered, because what do you do other than claim that the photographer is to blame? Now, I'm saying he does share the blame, but the rest of the team does too.
That unapproved word stands out real
claiming
heavy
that
to
he
me.
Just slipped that in there.
We had no idea.
Unbeknownst to all of the people who approved this. Countless people had to approve this campaign. It wasn't just some flyby. You place it on your desk, you hit.
Even for legal concerns, like you have to double check every image to make sure there isn't a copywritten image that you can't have on screen there. Mm-hmm. There is no professional world where you get to this level of success as a fashion house and don't have a team in place that prevents this from happening. You're just evil. Okay? Yeah. You're just evil. That kid can't consent. That kid is a child. That kid can't make any decisions for themselves. And this is, like you said, this is a very clear-cut example of just how. Now, if we wanted to make the argument that, like the story before, it's an entire industry that's been bred from the ground up to be exploitative to everyone, then maybe we should focus on learning to. It's not even about kind of informing people that this is real. I think people know that it's real, but people's desire for fame overtakes their ability to understand just how evil it is. What are people willing to put up with to be famous? In this case, what are parents willing to sacrifice at the altar of having a kid that ends up
of like
famous?
Moloch, literally.
No, we have this. Did you see this earlier? This tape here from Balenciaga at an ad campaign. One of the pics from the child photos has Balenciaga spelled on tape with Baal, Enciaga.
Bail.
Wait.
Bail.
Oh no.
It's in clear letters right there. They're just evil and satanic and bonkers.
Should we even be surprised? At
No.
This point?
There's also the in the same image on the white wall on the far left is like the image from the right there.
Here?
Down the red spot. Right there.
There?
Yeah, it's like the stripped face logo from the Ellen shirt.
It's
I'm talking about the Ellen shirt with the stripped face, like the skinless face.
Yeah.
Yep.
So they're just evil. They're just satanic and evil. And look, back in the day, like 5 years ago, I would maybe not this ridiculous of an example, but 5 years ago, I would have said it's some edgy art nerd wannabe photographer who thinks he's making a statement. No, it's not. It's too corporate. It's too continuous. It's too
many of the same people always involved as well. Yeah.
It's just evil. And we're kind of like, does this ever like make, like, literally when we got done with the show the other day when we covered this, I like had to we made the thumbnail, got everything done, and I had to just walk away and go because I can't do that shit. It's just
it's a demoralization campaign as well. That's essentially what it's about. And now I don't see this as a real answer for the situation. Yeah. They're never going to give us one. And we're just left to accept this and move on and memory hole it.
Yeah. Well, we've got Bella Hadid.
Yeah. The people complicit in this will quietly delete the evidence. So Bella Hadid recently was in Balenciaga's same, rollout for their Spring 23 collection. And she recently deleted the set of photos on her Instagram featuring this collection, her modeling for them, and has not commented on her partnership with Balenciaga or whether or not she plans to sever those ties. But really, it's all about denying. It's just deny. Yeah. Ignore.
Make a non-apology apology and then go offline for a while and expect it all to just blow over. And sad thing is, we live in a culture now where our attention spans have been so zapped by social media and the news cycle is so continuous that for a lot of people, they will forget that.
It's funny because they did directly reference that practice in Glass Onion when Peg was talking to Birdie about like their strategy for recovering from some sweatshop scandal.
Absolutely.
On her like loungewear line.
Did you really believe
something that stupid and superficial, and the same strategy is employed with a situation this egregious and obviously evil?
Kanye's the big winner in all this. He's the one who's like getting
vindicated in real time. Look at this shit.
Getting fired by Balenciaga looks like a badge of honor.
Yeah.
Now. Like you are the moral one in this one. And plus, not to mention, he's the one who's constantly talking about how our children are under attack and how he believes he hates the way that his kids have been put in the media. He hates the way that our children are being pushed away from Christian values. Like, that's a big thing for him. So we talked before about how it felt like a spit in the face to Kanye to even promote stuff like this because it feels like they're doing it just to say F you. Yeah. And now they're getting called out for it. I also wonder, there's probably countless examples of this in the world, but why does certain ones catch fire and everyone knows about it and others don't? Do you think this holds on? Or do you think that people just forget about this in T-minus 5 minutes?
I don't know. We'll have to see what shareholders do. The shareholders in this company, and Kering is their parent company, really. Yeah. They haven't made an official statement on it either. I think that the strategy is just going to get people to memory hole what happened. And usually that's effective. Yep. But, I don't want to forget that this happened, and I'm going to bring it up when it's relevant because we continue seeing examples of this.
Yep. Absolutely disgusting.
I mean, Kanye had to wage a public battle with his wife just against his daughter being on TikTok.
Yeah.
About his daughter North having a TikTok account and going live on TikTok. You can't even win a battle so small as that.
Yeah.
And when you look at the broader picture, this is the war.
Or what was it, Alabama Barker at 15 years old being heavily sexualized for whatever that company was, the ad campaign for that company.
I don't remember exactly.
There are
too many examples to count.
Yeah, it boggles my mind, but it's one of those things where I'm so burnt out by all of it that I'm like, I just expect people to forget and not care because we don't live in 1984. We live in
one of the stupidest comebacks I've seen is how are you going to boycott Balenciaga if you couldn't afford to wear it in the first place?
Oh my God, you couldn't afford to wear child abusing devil clothes? Oh my God, you're such a loser. It's a whole vibe. That's
disgusting.
It's
Anyway,
this is the worst of it. Like when we talk about this industry, like it's one thing for me to get annoyed when actors say stupid things or to be annoyed when there's wokeness in movies, and then you think about this stuff and you think about the abuse of children and how Hollywood. Like I always like to point out, storylines always seem to disappear whenever they do any type of child trafficking storyline in television shows. They don't go there because they know they're just adjacent to that industry.
Mm-hmm.
No, they write articles that say that child trafficking is a myth.
Yeah.
Like The Atlantic. It's a myth.
Yeah, well,
It's not happening.
If we did, the news would be telling us about it. I mean, come on, guys. I just... Do you think this is unique to fashion, like in the worst cases, like fashion, because fashion is close to that world?
well, a lot of people think that the entire art world is just a front,
Money laundering.
laundering money, and also, buying perspective value that is actually just a front for buying a person.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's
There's
what extent
plenty of,
that is true, but
evidence to point that way. Yes.
It's also one of those things that when I look at comment sections on videos, right? I was watching something about it was like a retrospective of like the X-Men movies the other day, and they were talking about Bryan Singer in the comment section, and somebody points out like, how is Bryan Singer still allowed to be a thing in Hollywood when everyone knows that Bryan Singer is kind of just an evil, yeah, exactly. So and then there's always the people in the comments who hit you with like the Holly weird, and then they say like the stuff that sounds bonkers offhand, like it's a demonic industry full of Satan worshipers, and you're like, well, yeah, I'm sure they're bad people, but that's kind of ridiculous.
you're a crackpot for saying that.
And then you look, and then you have to look at this and be like, is he wrong though? Is he wrong? No, he's not. It's just people don't know how to phrase it in a way that doesn't sound a little bit over the top. But maybe it's one of the things where they're like, maybe if we just do stuff that's so evil and over the top, people will just assume they're lying.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah, it's like tainting the water is like, it's part of the mystique. It's not really happening. Yeah, and I just lost my train of thought. Oh no, it's funny because it's the same thing with this as it was with like a Jeffrey Epstein, where there was no Jeffrey Epstein until their denials were so hollow.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like until it was like, oh, well, we have to get out ahead of this thing now, even though we're 10 years behind. People already
Also,
knew.
remember that they canceled Kanye West bank accounts, but they didn't cancel Jeffrey Epstein bank accounts. Those were left plenty enough alone.
Back to Balenciaga, though, some people theorize that this happened because of a rogue employee on the inside trying to expose them for their nefarious, shadowy practices. And that is that makes it true that it was unauthorized in the shoot.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense with, the idea that they didn't check through this image and what was included in it. But that is at least an optimistic take.
Well,
if you're looking for a silver lining in something this
it is
ugly.
always the excuse for something like this is a jilted person did something to make up that's how it becomes memory hold.
Oh, it was a guy in the grassy knoll. It was one guy on the grassy knoll who did it all by himself. I get it. Also, I want to point out that if we're to believe that this was one guy, did the photographer make his BAAL Balenciaga tape by himself?
Oops, typo.
Oops, I accidentally did this.
Innocent
no,
typo.
That's not how this works, guys. It's not how this works. So, they're evil. And that is
they're not hiding it
That
anymore.
is the crisis in pop culture crisis.
There you go, folks.
Let us finish on a fantastically Thanksgiving related note with John Leguizamo.
Yeah, if you needed the satisfaction of just a middle finger in John Leguizamo's face,
He says,
this is it.
Happy Indigenous Survivors Day. F Thanksgiving. Look,
By the way, after promising to leave Twitter
Yes.
if Trump were allowed back on the platform,
And did he?
that worked out well for you.
they just can't help themselves. They had
Addicted
their,
to the negative attention.
I'll never get that. Maybe it's because I don't.
Because they're narcissists.
Yeah,
Brett.
they
That's
love the
why.
dope. I mean, I get the addiction of the dopamine hit, but I don't get the addiction of like I want it so bad that I'll take a bunch of just awful stuff too to get. It's like I guess I do get
it's
it.
the narcissistic supply. It doesn't matter if it's positive or negative attention. They want it all.
I guess I do get it because like being in recovery, like I understand doing a bunch of stuff that you like wouldn't normally do because there's something you need so badly, but I can't imagine a world where that was just Twitter.
In response to this, don't let celebrities tell you how to live your life and what is acceptable for your family and your household to celebrate. Disregard them entirely because
don't let anybody who pretends to be somebody else for a living tell you how to be.
They live backwards lives.
We will probably make it a thing every year on the 4th of July where we will have to have like a holiday, like 4th of July Hollywood Cope roundup.
Because they never fail to whine on social media every time that people are having fun. They have to ruin it.
I'm in the most capitalist country, a part of the most capitalist industry in the world, but F this country. It's what it is, guys. Also, remember that John Leguizamo is still mad. He's still seething and coping that they did not hire an actor of color to play
He's just still
Mario.
bitter. He's still bitter about Chris Pratt not being... I mean, why did he want Mario to...
Because he was Luigi in the first
Yeah, I understand
movie.
that, but like, what does that have to do with Mario's voice actor
Well,
having the right ethnicity, which is not portrayed on screen?
the unwritten, the rule that they never tell you when they race and gender swap a character is that it is a one-way street. And thank you. I don't mean one-way street in that they don't do it the other way. What I mean is that once you recast it, once you gender or race swap a character, you don't go back. When another iteration of the character comes along, it has to stay. It has to get woker. Like when they recast the Doctor as a woman, there is no direction where it ends up back as a dude. And I don't count David Tennant taking back over for an interim period.
It's damage control.
Yeah. I'm saying that if you're going to change the character, that changes then forever and can only go the other direction harder. So in his opinion,
now Doctor Who's trans.
They're breaking the sacred rule. They're breaking the sacred rule by recasting back with somebody who I guess
who isn't even on screen.
Yeah. So,
but then again, Chris Pratt could have added a little bit more pizzazz to that.
We'll see more when we get more
argument. Though. It's a totally different argument.
And that's he's not making that argument. Right. He could have said like maybe they could have cast a better voice actor. He's saying they could have cast a voice actor with better immutable characteristics.
They could have cast me. Yes, it's all about him.
Wouldn't it have been a vibe if I had come back and played Mario this time?
John Leguizamo was like, it would have been goated if I got cast as Mario.
Yeah.
It would have been a goated situation for John Leguizamo to get casted as Mario. That in a situation where that would be a vibe.
That would be a vibe.
It is what it is. It's all a vibe for them. So, all right, guys, let's go to Super Chat. Now that we've and like you said, I want to reiterate what Mary said. Don't let these people ruin your day. Eat more turkey. Have more fun. Tell your family that you love them again. Just to spite them because they're mean, they're angry, they're self-loathing, and they're narcissistic. Totally. Spend time with your family because they would hate that. They hate that. So
you don't have to right the world's wrongs. Just don't be an asshole, and everybody follows that. The world changes.
Let's do it.
Raymond G. Stanley Jr. said, "Hey guys, is Barbarian worth a watch? I hear thing. Yes. I haven't seen Barbarian. I did want to see it when it first came out. It's not in theaters anymore, is it?
No.
You loved it.
I loved it. Yeah.
Okay. Well,
that's a strong recommendation.
From Wesley.
Yep.
1,000 Foot Deep End said, Mary finds out KFC deep fries turkeys. That's based. Me, don't you mean based? Because turkey, please don't hate me. I don't hate you.
That's supposed to be funny. Please don't delete me.
I'm indifferent to you. Yeah.
R. Fontanez said, apple pie with a slice of cheddar melted out on top. Try it. Oh, no.
I was with him until the cheddar part. That must be
the cheddar is really the central part of this idea.
I've heard this, and I bet I've never done it.
Oh, I don't know how I feel about that one.
That ain't it. Sorry.
Cream cheese. Maybe.
That ain't it. Cheap.
Even that.
Whipped cream. Sugary cream cheese, like cheesecake.
Okay. Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know. Johnny Derp said the bishop of our diocese released a statement saying hunters should have their weapons stored at communal centers. He's getting a letter.
Like hunters as in
Biden?
People, no, like this.
I'd agree.
This person's bishop said that people who hunt should have their weapons not in their own homes.
Oh, wow.
Which is not something that is in the purview of a religious leader at all.
You ever notice that the solution is always have less
Yeah.
autonomy? Every time.
Well, sacrifice
Every
in the
time.
name of the greater good.
Yeah, every time. Have less autonomy.
Yeah.
Don't
Well,
be able to provide for yourself.
You don't have
Don't have
to
control over your children.
obey the order of a bishop on a matter that is completely outside of his purview of authority over you. So you don't even need to worry about it.
What would a what
worry
would
about
like a church armory look like? There'd be a big cross on the door.
Oh, I mean, there
like
in
a
countries
Constantine?
in countries where Christians are persecuted still, which is an ongoing problem, that is a thing.
I think I'm gonna watch Lord of War this weekend.
Good one.
Yeah, dude.
Matt's S-Box Emporium sent several in a row. He said, fire dash cash guns. Anyone else want to put $2 in? 2 more doll hair towards dash cannon. 2 more for das lulz. Using that OT. Wait, what?
Also earlier, me and Mary were discussing whether the term pwned is still culturally relevant. We have decided that it is not, but maybe it should come back.
Yeah, I don't know what the Zoomer equivalent for it is.
You'd think she would know.
Yeah.
It's probably just slipped my mind.
It's because you're so mature and worldly, and you're wise beyond your years.
Matt's S-Box Emporium said, last spam chat, honestly, we let 17-year-old kids sign up to be cannon fodder when they are 18. I knew a guy with 2 deployments before he could drink.
Yeah, that's it. Who was it? I think it was Mia Khalifa who said OnlyFans is less abusive to yourself than signing up for the military. And he's like, well, because a lot of people that sign up for you're selling your body, but at least you're selling it for your own money, like for money that could set you up for life. Whereas if you join the military, you're selling your body and the potential of death for college education. That's somebody who believes, probably doesn't believe that patriotism is really a thing. Doesn't Mia
Khalifa is a fraud and a sellout.
I have my own problems with
and a morally corrupt, morally bankrupt woman of no virtue.
Oh, but I'm not making that comparison because I have my own like weird middle ground where I'm like as libertarian as I am. I have a soft spot for patriotic military stories, even though that so much of the military industrial complex, it's part of an enormous machine that's got nothing to do with actual patriotism. But that's my blind spot.
It's a nuance. It's a nuance. Yeah.
Sketch Therapy said, talk to Eliza Blue about Balenciaga here and on Timcast.
I think we got that suggestion the other day.
We did,
That would be a good person to reach out to.
Her and Yako.
Shimmy Shelley said, hi, Mary. Or no, the new Balenciaga pics had books by Michael Boremans and the Cremaster Cycle by Matthew Barney. Freaky, demonic, abusive, cannibal stuff.
Yep.
And now we've got Timothée Chalamet with his cannibal movie out now. And did you see that Armie Hammer's dad died?
I didn't.
Yeah, his dad. He's only 67. I guess he had like an aggressive form of cancer or something. But yeah, he just passed away. So he died.
Guess the cash cows finally run out of milk. Armie Hammer.
Well, actually, I don't know. Is he in the will? Then he might be getting more.
I'd like to know. Luis Aguilar said, hi, Mary, caught you on the evening edition of PCC last night. I prefer this afternoon show. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Yes, I saw them cover a Disney topic. I thought that was
That was a cute little
nod we couldn't get to that one.
A cute tribute to us that we really appreciated.
We couldn't get to that one, so we're like, hey, you guys cover it.
Yeah.
Drippings.
High Voltage 75 said, I'm thankful for Brett, the hitman Dasovic. Best host there is, was, and ever will be. And most based Zoomer Mary, ghost with the most Morgan. All recurring guests and all rascals in chat, ripping pop culture a new a-hole.
And clumps of cells.
That was beautifully written. Thank you, High Voltage.
Ghost with the most is kind of an incredible name.
I like it.
Yeah. Ghost with the most is Beetlejuice, right?
Must be. Yeah. Well, it's Mary now.
Because they do call me Beetlejuice and a lot of other things. Rhaegar Targaryen said John Leguizamo was cast as Violator in Spawn, but you didn't see anybody complaining that he wasn't a real-life demon appointed by Malbolgia?
Well, let's face it. John Leguizamo has spent most of his career trying to outrun that role. Like,
it's his best role.
Like, he's not a fan of that role, and he's
why?
I don't know. It's great.
That movie is
very bad, but
very, very bad from what everyone. That's the general. I can't use my own take on it because I love bad, but most people don't think kindly of that movie.
Waffle Sensei said, Raymond G, happy Thanksgiving, buddy.
All right. See, that
The
may be.
camaraderie in the chat is heartwarming, not gonna lie.
Also, I want to point out that our chat is proof that people can just be friends. Like, not like, remember, Hollywood is slowly trying to erode the notion of best friends. We here at PCC are looking to reinforce the notion that you can have best friends.
But also, if you find your spouse in the PCC chat, we're not opposed to the idea.
We'll work on the dating app when that happens.
Yeah, we need proof of concept. Rhaegar Targaryen said, I once sat through a John Leguizamo one-man HBO special. That is time I cannot get back. Also, saw Barbarian in a packed theater and everyone was confused at the end. I also cannot get that time back. Was the ending confusing, Wesley?
Is it confusing? I don't think it was confusing. I think the middle was confusing, but by design.
Do you think that he's... I wonder if he's jealous of Lin-Manuel Miranda. I bet you he is, because he's like a big thing in Hollywood right now.
Yeah, I think his star's fading.
Like Lin-Manuel Miranda.
Yeah.
But he's also way more multifaceted.
He is.
He's not just an actor, he's a musician, he's a playwright. Does John Leguizamo write?
I don't know. Probably.
I get the feel like they're the ones who love to talk about identity, and I wonder if they have jealousy in that arena because they make it such an important part of who they are that they're actually better off not talking about it, because if it doesn't become who you are, you're not just considered for that role. You might be looked at like, I wonder if there's ever like, we need somebody that fills these characteristics, so they only look for people in that realm. But if you're all encompassing and you're just a good actor, then you're always considered. Right? Like, I feel like they pigeonhole themselves by doing that. And he's fine. Like, there's nothing wrong with John Leguizamo. I love him in the John Wick movies in that supporting role. He's not, like, my favorite actor, but I feel like they do themselves a disservice by pretending like that's all they are, because I'm sure that we don't get to see that part of them, but I'm sure they're much, much more than that. And it seems like they're kind of trapped into playing that game just to stay relevant. It sucks.
Tacti Plati said, Big Avocado pwned the millennials for real, no cap. The millennials will never get past the avocado toast allegations. It's clearly the main reason why they can't put down payments on their homes.
Wait, what are the allegations? The big avocados.
The allegations that their lattes and avocado toast orders are the sole reason that they can't afford groceries and rent.
See, I thought it was them making fun of boomers for pretending like that was the only reason, when really millennials understand that it's a housing market that's tripled the budget for a home in the last 20 years.
The avocado toast talking point started from like baby boomers placing that on millennials, like, maybe if you stopped going to Starbucks and getting an avocado toast
and work while you're in college,
and work while you're studying, then maybe you would be able to buy a $50,000 home that then inflates in value by
Look,
by 50%.
And I'm the irrational defender of boomers because I am that hardcore personal responsibility, get like, it's not my problem, deal with it, you whiner person most of the time, though I tried to curb that. But it's like, you do understand that what the world we live in now is not the world that the boomers had when they were kids.
Not.
But I also whenever maybe it's the tone, it's always the tone of the millennial anger when they're complaining about the boomers always comes off to me as like this weird type of like, I don't care but I care, sour grapes. Like, I don't care if I'm never going to be able to own a home. When, just be honest, it makes you upset, it angers you, and the dismissal of those problems by the boomers is annoying.
I'm on neither side in this debate. I am only on the side of avocado toast because it's bussin' for real, no cap. I need to stop watching YouTube said, I'm thankful for being beautiful. Honestly, same. I think that a lot.
Must be nice.
Mary's like, being beautiful is like a vibe.
It is goated in certain situations, yes. 1,000 Foot Deep End said, test to see if YouTube has Evie Magazine barred from being mentioned in Super Chat. If it works, I'll follow up with the rest of the message. It did work. Evie Magazine is based. I love that publication, and Brittany Martinez is goated for real. I need to stop.
Bussin'.
Evie Magazine is bussin' for real, no cap. But yeah, I actually got published in Evie a couple of times in college, and I was like really proud of that moment because they're based as hell.
We should get someone on the show.
Yeah,
Yes.
I agree. Rhaegar Targaryen said, regarding Barbarian, everyone was confused because we were all like, that was it after the movie ended, and the plot twist was funny, but not in a good way. You agree?
I disagree.
You disagree? Okay.
What my favorite thing about Wesley is he's very stoic in his disagreement with people. He's like, yeah, you're wrong.
No, it's like, hey, you're allowed to have your opinion.
Yep. Well, we need more of that.
I don't
Hey,
need
like
you to agree
that's
with
just
me.
like your opinion.
Man.
No, I just don't need him to agree with me. I'm sorry that he didn't get the like unbridled enjoyment out of it that I got.
All right. We got
Mike
one more.
Hunt said, hope you have a good Thanksgiving PCC crew.
Ugh, I love it.
You too.
Thank
dude.
you. And guys, I want to say thank you to everyone for joining us today. This has been a lot of fun. To be honest, I was extremely tired. We were extremely frazzled and disoriented
Yeah.
and disorganized when we were getting started today. So having a show go this well when things are out of order, it's kind of a reaffirmation of just why it's amazing to have this job. So thank you very much. Wesley, I want to thank you for coming on today.
Happy to.
And let everyone know what's coming with the vlog and if you got anything coming up.
Or where they can find you, even if it's nowhere.
Yeah. Most of them know where to find me. I got followed by Potatoes for Seamus earlier.
Catch him if you can.
Potatoes for
basically.
Seamus is the man.
He is. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter and on timcast.com.
I do like that you make it like a scavenger hunt type.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
if you want to, it's like the girl who's
You need
like
the staff of Raw to
Yeah.
find me, but you'll find me.
it's like the girl's like if you want me, you're gonna have to work to get me. Like you're gonna have to try hard. You can't just expect it all up front. He's like, if you want to follow me, you gotta look it up.
As far as upcoming for Cast Castle, we're working on some things. We're working on some ideas, but
It's
I hope that
Thanksgiving related.
It
we'll
is,
say that.
yeah. I hope that you've enjoyed the last 3 or 4. We're trying to get where most of you expect us to be. We're working really hard, and I appreciate the positive feedback that a lot of you have left us.
Amazing, man. And I think we got a couple more there.
Yeah,
man.
we've got a few more super chats. Waffles Sensei said, I will marry everyone in chat. Come to Papa, my sweet angels.
He wants that. He wants
Whoa.
that. He wants that app made. That
I don't
dating
know
app
how I
made.
feel about this PCC
Polygamy?
polygamist marriage. I don't know. I can't endorse this. I'm sorry. Hobbit said, found out I have a double hernia today.
Ooh.
Cool. Sorry to hear that right
Yeah.
before the holidays
Awful.
too. I'm sorry. I hope you're feeling better soon. That sucks.
Rest up, man.
Yeah. 1,000 Foot Deep End said the magazine's Instagram put out a video today on several disturbing books featured in another one of the photos. I'll look at that. Yeah, they're definitely reporting on the real stories. I like Evie a lot. Anyways, you can find pictures of me on Instagram at Mary Archived, and you can read my inane thoughts, see some memes on my Twitter, also at Mary Archived. Thank you for watching, guys. I am excited to see you after the break.
All right, guys. Again, thank you. Have a happy Thanksgiving. We love it when you come to join us Monday through Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That is noon Pacific. We will be back on Monday, so there will be no show Thursday and Friday. We are going to take some time off, but join us again on Monday. If you want to follow me, you can follow me on Instagram at Brett Dasovic. And then also, if you listen to the podcast, we are on Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Pandora, and Spotify. The shows go up there. We are also on social media, Twitter at popculture_show, Facebook and TikTok are at Pop Culture Crisis, and Instagram is at Pop Culture Crisis Pod. We'll be back with another episode on Monday. Happy Thanksgiving, and we'll see you then, guys.
Bye.
Later.